Introverts. How did you meet your girlfriend? Story 1. She came over to me in a coffee shop while she was on vacation in my country to ask how to tip. We had a 2-hour conversation and then an amazing 5-hour lunch 2 days later. She complained about her hostel and I offered her my spare bedroom. She accepted. Nothing happened, although it seems crystal clear in retrospect that we were falling for each other. Duh. I didn't want to be douchey and make her feel uncomfortable under my roof, so putting the moves on her was not something I seriously considered. 2 nights later, I had to be gone for most of the night on a work assignment, and I asked if she would please watch and walk my dog in my absence. I came home at 5 a.m. and was greeted by my very soft and fluffy dog. She had somehow understood, "Will you please wash my dog?" and apparently didn't find that a strange request at all. The next evening, after we'd been talking over a bottle of wine for hours, it seems she had enough of my apparent indecisiveness, took the wine glass out of my hand, put it down, and leaned in for a kiss. That was 26 years ago. We've been married for 23 years. Story 2. I've known this girl for a decade now, and I have had a crush on her for the longest time. Just recently, in a drunken state, she confessed she's been in love with me for years, and yet every time the topic has come up about relationships, I've matrix dodged my way out. But not anymore. As of tomorrow, I'm going to, or at least try to ask her out. I've never been so scared in all my life. Pray for me. Update 1. I decided to send her a link to the thread for a topic starter, then, like an awkward cliche, continued to ask her out over Messenger. Her reply was for me to wait until she was properly woken up and cuddle her cat. Now, we try not to have a panic attack while waiting for the game. Update you guys again in a few hours. Update 2. It's a complete role reversal. She's now worried about what if it doesn't work out. She wants to talk in person now. Hopefully, we can hash it out today. Final update. We're all going to be left in suspense. Due to luck, our talk won't be happening until the weekend. I might make a post about this on Reddit somewhere after it's ended with a final verdict. But until then, we wait. Limbo. We finally managed to get a day off work and meet up. The talk mostly consisted of us going around in circles, so to cut a long story short, she didn't want to say yes because of the fact that ultimately nothing will change between us. She's scared that if the relationship doesn't work out, it will end up ruining our friendship, and I'll just be like another one of her exes. However, she didn't want to say no either, so I still might have a chance. She told you she liked you. You literally can't f*** this up, it's a done deal. Story 3. Both of us work at a grocery store. I saw her and thought she was the cutest there, but never really did anything about it. She works as a cashier in a work in production. She would always do the shop, and I soon realized that she was doing that for a reason and started flirting with her back. We have been together for 11 months now. Story 4. On the Greyhound. During my time in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Eustis, Virginia. On my way home for Christmas, by the way at that time I lived in Denver, Colorado, I saw her sitting across from and slightly behind me. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to her at first, but my buddy, seated next to her, did. After getting shot down repeatedly for a day and a half, he finally got off the bus. Shortly thereafter, she came over and sat next to me, and we started talking. After that, we got split up, put on different buses, and I kicked myself for not getting her number. Then when the bus stopped in St. Louis, she was standing right there at the entrance, almost like she was waiting for me. If my bus had arrived 15 minutes later, I would have never seen her again. Then I found out the bus to Denver was delayed due to snow, and wasn't going anywhere for at least 2 days. She hurried over to the ticket counter and had my ticket changed to Des Moines, Iowa, where she was also going, so I wouldn't be trapped in St. Louis for 2 days. We spent the next 4 days getting to know each other, then I went home. We had a long-distance relationship for about 6 months, until I came home permanently, by which time she had moved to Denver and rented an apartment. We got married 3 years later and have been together for 10 years in total. Story 5. He was in the corner drinking a bottle of water. I noticed him immediately, and I noticed him noticing me for the better part of an hour. I finally just walked up to him after I figured he was too shy to approach me. We chatted for about 2 hours, and then left. Later in school, we exchanged our AOL screen names, and after weeks of random chat sessions, he finally worked up the courage to ask if I wanted to see a movie. Of course, it's Harry Potter. During the date, he didn't say anything, but I noticed him very fidgety, so I decided to hold his hand. After the movie, we were sitting in his car in silence, and he was fidgety again. So I grabbed his face and kissed his cheek. He turned completely red, but was grinning ear to ear. In person, he had trouble stringing sentences together, but online, we would chat for hours. He had to express his love via email and cuddling without saying a word. We first met over 14 years ago, bought a house together, and got married in October. We went to Disney and Universal for our honeymoon, and to celebrate Halloween. It's pretty much amazing. As we get older, he's gotten much more vocal, but I still do most of the talking and socializing. We do a squeeze when holding hands to mean love you if we don't want to talk. Story 6. I went on a night out in Chester. I was originally not going to go because I'm not a fan of drinking, but my best friend managed to convince me to go out. There were 6 of us. 2 couples, me and another girl. I'm really shy and find it difficult to talk to girls, so for the first few hours I didn't say a word to her. Then we moved to the next bar over. After about an hour in this bar, my best friend's girlfriend ran up the stairs and whispered something into his ear. He comes up to me in his exact words. "Listen, Mike, all you have to do is talk to her. I'm not asking you to do rocket science, just talk to her." So I did. It started off small, like, "How are you? Where do you work?" And it ended with me losing my virginity that night. Yet we're still together after 2 months. Story 7. I met my fiancée on the first day of college completely by accident. I programmed my schedule into my phone but hadn't accounted for daylight savings time. Therefore, I showed up to my first class an hour earlier, unknown to me. I had decided that I was going to make a real effort to put myself out there and be social, so I sat near the front of the lecture hall. I'd shown up with plenty of time before class, which was an hour earlier than my real class. I and these 4 people start talking about where we're from and stuff like that. They're all freshmen too, and I'm really stoked because it's before the first class even, and I've found a group of friends to hang out with. One of these people is this gorgeous girl in the row ahead of me, and I fall in love with her the first time she turns around and asks me my name. Right before class, we decided to all get lunch at one of the dining halls later at a specified time. About 15 minutes into the class, it becomes really obvious that I'm not in the last class. I go to my schedule online and realize that my entire schedule on my phone is an hour early. I was too embarrassed to stand up and leave at this point, so I just stayed. I almost didn't go to lunch when and where we agreed because I thought it would be embarrassing, but I thought there was a chance that the gorgeous girl would be there. As luck would have it, I ran into her in the lobby of the dining hall, and we ate lunch and talked for 3 hours. I never saw any of the 3 people from the class, and I don't think I've spoken to them since. I added her on Facebook rather than ask her for her number because I'm a coward, and we got lunch together several more times during the first 2 weeks of class. Then she asks me if I'll go with her to this party that her roommate wants to go to. We both hate it. I kissed her after walking her back to her dorm, and we've been together ever since. Daylight savings strikes once again. Story 8. At a garage sale. Well, technically my mom's garage sale. My father was a hoarder, but not of old newspapers or glass bottles or garbage. He hoarded consumer goods. Tools, CDs, home improvement stuff, camping gear, hunting and fishing stuff. The man had piles and piles of it stuffed into his home. Most of it pretty high quality, all bought on clearance. The old man was a sucker for a deal, even if he didn't have a use for it. After he passed away, it fell to us to figure out what to do with a stock of overstocked goods large enough to open a store. So we sold it at rock-bottom prices in the front yard, as is tradition. It was a miserably hot summer day. My mom requested that I come over and help because the house was on a well-trafficked street, and the sheer volume of stuff meant there would be tons of people. She was right. There'd be a zillion people the day before, and though we'd sold a lot of stuff, there was much more yet to go. And today I'd put up an ad up on Craigslist. It was even busier. It was a long day of haggling with strangers, but at the end of the day, we'd sold 90% of the load, and we were just getting ready to close up and celebrate our success with pizza. Then this car pulls up and out hops this gorgeous girl. She starts poking around in the CDs first, finds a couple she loves, then waves me over and starts asking about some she's unfamiliar with. She thought that since she'd found a few things she liked, the stuff she hadn't heard might be in the same vein, not knowing it was purchased indiscriminately from bargain bins all over town. I answer her as best as I can. I hadn't heard most of them, but I was able to steer her to a couple she might enjoy. We kept chatting and I sort of showed her around in between helping other people who kept showing up. There was definitely an instant attraction and some really great conversation. She had to get going, so I made her a sweetheart deal on the stuff and helped her to her car. She got in, drove away, then I realized I hadn't gotten her number. My brother and my neighbor had a fucking field day at my stupidity, but she told me where she worked at a restaurant down the road, and she told me the day she was usually scheduled. So I did something very unusual for me and pursued it. Friday afternoons, I'd drive over from my office and ask to sit in her section. The food was terrible, but she'd stop and chat as long as it wasn't busy. I caught her admiring a few times, so on my 3rd visit, I told her I'd love to see more of her and asked for her number. 10 years, a marriage, and a child, and we're still head over heels for each other. So I guess I owe my dad for the posthumous hookup. Story 9. So back in college, I was an extreme introvert to the point I was 20 before finally asking someone out. This is that story, and it's a rather long one, admittedly. In my freshman year, I am in an English class and I'm sitting behind this cute Asian girl. The professor is one of those fun types, so on the first day of class we play a game as a class where each would describe a celebrity throughout history. I don't remember who mine was, but I remember her describing Charlie Chaplin and I was the only person who knew the answer. She smiled at me and seemed happy that someone got it right. About a week or two later, the teacher puts people into groups and I end up in a group with her. This was one of those outdoor assignments where the group was sent to go do things across campus. The details are a little fuzzy, but at some point, we all end up at a cafe and we order drinks. I get to talking to this girl and find out she's a biology major and had a boyfriend at the time. I didn't really try pursuing anything with her at the time because she was seeing someone else, but we talked ever so often in class. I didn't expect to see her too much after that class since I was a computer engineer at the time and our majors were wildly different. About a year later, after I tried taking on some of the tougher sciences that engineers have to take and probably got my ass handed to me, I switched over to computer science, which was basically programming and math. I signed up for a first-year computer architecture class that was part of my new curriculum. And on the first day that I was there, everyone was introducing themselves and telling their majors, and this girl is saying she's now a CS major as well. I walk by her and say, "Hey," on the way out, but I can't get myself to say more. The teacher had his office hours the day before the assignment was due each week, and throughout the semester, I tried my best to make use of that. One time, I was waiting for him to show up at his office for office hours when this same girl showed up trying to get help from him on the assignment as well. While we were waiting for him, we got to talking. She was dressed up really nicely compared to usual and jokingly asked me if I wanted a kiss, while offering me a Hershey's kiss. I asked what the occasion was, and she said that she really just enjoyed Valentine's Day and liked sharing that feeling with others. It hadn't even dawned on me up until this point that it was Valentine's Day. I figured I would take advantage of the excellent timing to find out if she was still seeing someone or not. So I asked her if she had any plans for Valentine's Day, and she said no. I didn't dare to ask her on a date, so instead I invited her over to the apartment where my roommates were most likely playing Tekken. She seemed excited by the idea because she grew up playing that game as a kid. She comes over and it ends up being the one day that entire semester when my roommates weren't playing Tekken. We decided to just spend the time talking instead. I find out she's a fairly introverted and shy person herself and didn't want to bother me, but wanted to be my friend back in English class. We made a bunch of jokes at each other and laughed a bunch, then I walked her back to her dorm. The rest of the week was pretty busy till the weekend. We got back together to hang out, and it just so happened that this particular weekend, all of my roommates were going to be staying at a rich friend's house for the whole weekend, leaving just me and her at the dorm. We ended up talking with each other that first night till around 4 a.m. By that point, I was a bit sleep deprived and somehow mustered up the courage to tell her I liked her fully, expecting her to turn me down. Instead, she told me that she liked me back, but was afraid to say anything. We have been dating for over 4 years now. We graduated together and now live together in an apartment with 2 pet bunnies. Story 10. First year of college, we both live on the same floor of our dorm building and see or meet each other for the first time at the floor meeting before the school year starts. There are some icebreaker questions given by the RA that we all have to answer in turn, and one of them is about what we hope to accomplish outside of our academic goals this year. I said that I want to make my own comics and put them online, and she pipes up with a suggestion that I should try a keen spot for hosting. This happened in 2004. In my head, I'm making a mental bookmark. Oh, she knows about the keen spot? She's an internet nerd. We might have stuff in common. Out loud, I'm an idiot, shutting her down with a, well actually, oh, I have my own hosting. I'm not a fan of the keen spot. A few weeks later, she and her roommates invited me and a bunch of other guys on the floor over to their room for a movie night. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live-action films and pizza. Ostensibly, it was so that the people invited could all get to know each other and make friends, and was a success in doing that. I wound up being roommates with most of the other guys invited in successive years at that school, but it was also because the girls were zeroing in on which guys they had their eyes on. So we started crushing on each other fast and hard, and were both always looking for excuses to hang out with each other, walking together to classes, cooking in the floor-shared kitchen, and eventually the group of us who made friends at the TMNT pizza party all go on a camping trip together, and I'm trying to figure out how and when to appropriately communicate my feelings for her and chickening out repeatedly. After we got back from that camping trip, she corners me in my dorm room and demands to know if I'm into her, and I'm forced to confess that I am, but I asked if she felt the same way about me. Apparently, she'd prepared a series of persuasive arguments and rebuttals to deploy if I said I wasn't, or if I didn't think it would work. I also learned later that she'd selected me at the floor meeting and had been collaborating with her roommates for months to create situations that would put the two of us together. That she shut down 6 other guys that were trying to date her while she was coming after me. I was targeted by a female conspiracy that I had very little say in. Anyway, I proposed 2 years after we started dating, and we were engaged for a year. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary in March, and we're still very much into this thing. Story 11. I moved to the school that she went to. I didn't really fit in anywhere, but she had a friend I thought would make a nice girlfriend. Coincidentally, she had a crush on a guy I sort of hung out with. We conspired to work together. Well, it clearly failed miserably. Her friend had zero interest and turned out to be manipulative, constantly putting down my future girlfriend and making her a quiet, embarrassed slave. As for the guy my future girlfriend was interested in, I held a party at my parents' place and I remember her coming in dressed to the nines to get his attention. She looked amazing to me, but unfortunately didn't get any response. We commiserated and hugged each other for the rest of the night. This led to being study buddies at the library, which led to hanging out at her place, which led to more cuddling. We watched Return of the King 5 times at the cinema that year, but we never saw the ending. Anyway, we've been going out for 14 years and married for 4. I can't imagine life without her. Story 12. We're both introverts, and as a result, it took a little while for us to actually become romantically involved. A little while being 7 years. She and I met when we were both 11, when we were put together to compete in a music competition as a duet. We're both cellists. I had a little 11-year-old crush on her straight away, and she had the same thing for me. Neither of us ever told the other about our feelings for years, instead talking to our friends about it and then getting into other relationships and forgetting about each other for a while. Eventually, after I broke up with my girlfriend of 3 years, I asked her if she wanted to catch up and play some music together. We saw each other for a few weeks in a row, and then, after 7 years of on and off feelings for each other, we became a thing. And I'm happier than I've ever been.
Girls with an awkward or introverted boyfriend or husband. How did he approach you? Our paths crossed through my sister, who introduced us, mentioning he lived close by. Feeling a bit adventurous one night as the clock neared midnight, I sent him a text out of the blue, asking if he'd be up for watching a movie together. I was taken aback when he appeared at my doorstep in a matter of minutes. We settled in to watch Totoro, and before we knew it, the night had slipped away, with him staying until the early hours of the morning. That unexpected movie night was the beginning of our friendship. As days turned into weeks, we found ourselves drawn together at school, seeking each other's company whenever we could. His approach to getting closer was unlike any I had seen before. It wasn't one for the typical flirtatious gestures. Instead, he would gently take my hand or choose to sit so close that our sides would touch. It was a sweet and subtle dance of affection that I found myself enjoying more with each passing day. The moment that truly captured my heart was when I visited his home for the first time. He shared with me his treasured collection of pocket watches, each with its own story and history. But it was his virtual world in Minecraft that left me in awe. He had meticulously crafted an expansive landscape, filled with replicas of Thai and German buildings. It was a window into his soul, a passion project that showed his depth and creativity. This wasn't the conventional way to win someone's heart, especially at such a young age, but it resonated with me on a profound level. His unique way of expressing himself and sharing his interests made me see him in a new light. I realized that I had developed deep feelings for him, feelings that grew into a love that I cherish to this day. Minecraft nerds, you still got hope, buddies. Story 2. Our story began in a simple, natural way. We had friends in common, and that's how we started talking. I could tell he liked me because he always wanted to be close. He would stay after school with me, even though he didn't have to. Those were special times. Just the two of us, talking and laughing. We found out we liked the same things and enjoyed each other's company. As time went by, he became more at ease with me. He'd make me laugh, and sometimes he'd put his arm around me, making me feel special. It was like we were in our own little world. One day at a party surrounded by friends and music, he wanted to talk to me alone. We found a quiet spot, away from the noise, and roses were blooming all around us. He was nervous, his hands shaking, and I could feel his heart beating fast. That's when he told me he really liked me and wanted us to be more than friends. It was a magical moment. Our first kiss was sweet and perfect, under the canopy of roses. Since that day, we've been together, through ups and downs, for 4 years. It's been a beautiful journey, filled with love and laughter. Story 3. I found myself at a party I hadn't planned on attending, all for the sake of being a supportive friend. My buddy has his eye on someone, and that someone happened to be a best friend who was the life of the party, drawing all eyes on her. I, on the other hand, was more than content to keep to the sidelines, finding solace in the kitchen with a few other introverts who preferred a quieter scene. This best friend, the vibrant soul of the party, kept coming up to me with a simple request. "Hold my drink." It became her refrain whenever she needed to step away for a moment. I obliged, but not without a hint of reluctance, often placing the drink down on the counter in hopes of disengaging from the one-sided interaction. However, the night took an unexpected turn when she approached me with a more direct gesture, taking my hand and asking me to join her outside. Curiosity piqued, I followed her out, and we were met with a sight that demanded immediate action. Her roommate, unconscious in the snow. Without hesitation, I lifted the roommate and carried her to the safety of their apartment nearby, ensuring both were safe and comfortable. I tucked them in for the night before quietly leaving. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from her. She had gotten my number through a friend and reached out to me. That simple text marked the beginning of a journey that has since unfolded into 5 beautiful years, blessed with 2 wonderful children. Our lives have intertwined in a way that neither of us could have anticipated in that snowy night, building a family and a future together, step by step. Story 4. During a summer camp where we were both working, I slipped and revealed to a coworker that I had developed feelings for her. Unfortunately, this coworker was someone who couldn't keep a secret to save their life, known for being loud and spreading news like wildfire. Realizing my mistake, I knew I had to take matters into my own hands and tell her directly before the story reached her in a twisted, unrecognizable form. The thought of her hearing it from someone else filled me with a nervous energy that only subsided when I resolved to be honest with her. I mustered up the courage to speak to her, ready to confess my feelings and explain the situation. To my utter surprise, she was not only receptive but seemed genuinely interested from the moment I started to speak. It was baffling to me, considering we had never even had a conversation prior to that moment. She found it endearing that I wanted to ensure she heard the truth from me, and that I cared enough to explain how the rumor had started. As I stumbled through my explanation, trying to make sense of the jumbled thoughts and feelings, she gently stopped me, with a smile that I can still vividly recall. She said, "Yes, I understand. We're going out now." I was speechless, caught off guard by her straightforwardness and the ease with which she accepted the idea of us being together. Later that day, she encountered a couple of people who had heard the rumor and mistakenly believed I was broadcasting my feelings to the entire camp. However, she gracefully handled the situation, simply stating, "Yes, I'm aware. We have a date planned for tonight." Her confidence and the way she embraced the idea of us being a couple still fills me with a flutter of excitement whenever I think back to that time. Now, a full 10 years have passed since that summer, with 5 of those years spent as husband and wife. Reflecting on our journey, I've come to realize the importance of overcoming shyness and the power of honesty and authenticity in building a relationship. It's a lesson that has stayed with me. A reminder that sometimes taking a leap of faith and being true to yourself can lead to the most unexpected and beautiful outcomes. Story 5. I'm the guy in the story, and it all unfolded when my best friend extended an invitation to accompany him to a concert. It was only at the last minute that he revealed he would be bringing along a girl he had feelings for, cautioning me not to do anything that might jeopardize his chances with her. With that in mind, I stepped into the role of a supportive wingman, feeling no pressure to impress since my focus was on helping my friend. Throughout the evening, I engaged in light and casual conversation, simply being myself. What neither of us anticipated was that the girl, who was unaware of my friend's romantic interest in her, would take a liking to me. She found me attractive and, in a twist of fate, ended up asking him for my phone number. Initially, we both thought our connection would be short-lived, as she was scheduled to move to the other side of the country in just a week's time. We envisioned it as a brief, enjoyable fling. However, life had other plans for us. She relocated as planned but found herself unhappy with the move. Just 2 weeks later, she returned, and from that point forward, our relationship blossomed into something far more serious and enduring. Here we are, 8 years later, still together and very much in love. Throughout this unexpected turn of events, my best friend demonstrated true grace and understanding. He accepted the situation with maturity, and to this day, the 3 of us make it a point to spend time together whenever our schedules allow. It's a testament to the strength of our friendship and the bonds we've formed over the years. Story 6. Our story began at an engineering summer camp, where a large group of us were assembled in a dormitory lobby for the orientation session. I arrived a bit late and found the only remaining seat was a small space and a couch, right next to him. Little did I know he was experiencing love at first sight at that moment. We exchanged a few shy and brief sentences, trying to get to know each other amidst the bustling crowd. As the orientation continued, the organizers decided to play a movie for us. The day had been long, and the warmth of the room, combined with the soft hum of the movie, lulled me to a peaceful sleep. Without realizing it, I leaned against his shoulder and dozed off. To me, it was an innocent act of finding comfort in a new and slightly overwhelming environment. But to him, it was a moment he would remember forever. When I awoke, the realization of what had happened flooded me with embarrassment. I hurriedly excused myself and practically ran back to the solitude of my room, my cheeks burning with shame. The following day, in a camp full of strangers, we naturally gravitated towards each other. We were both adrift in an unfamiliar sea of faces. In our chance meeting the day before, it sparked a connection that neither of us could deny. We started spending more time together, finding solace and companionship in each other's company. The structure of the camp played a crucial role in bringing us closer. It was a setting that encouraged, or perhaps more accurately, demanded social interaction. For him, it was a rare opportunity to disconnect from his usual world dominated by computers and technology. For me, it was a chance to step away from my familiar routines and comfort zones. If fate had placed us in the same high school, I wonder if our paths would have ever truly crossed. In the halls of a school surrounded by our established circles and distracted by the daily grind, Would we have found the time and the inclination to explore the connection that blossomed so effortlessly at camp? Yet, here we are, on the cusp of celebrating our 11th wedding anniversary. Through the years, we've navigated the complexities of our personalities and preferences, finding a balance that respects his deep-seated introversion while ensuring I don't feel neglected or isolated. It's a delicate dance, but one that we've learned to perform with grace and understanding. Engineering camp, huh? I thought the only thing you'd find there was a bunch of people arguing over the best way to build a bridge out of spaghetti, but no, they found love. It's like going to a hardware store for a hammer and coming out with a diamond ring. Story 7. Our journey began at a mutual friend's housewarming party, a night where I found myself looking for the comfort of my own space rather than the bustling crowd that surrounded me. In a bid to make a graceful exit, I lied to the hosts, telling them I was off to Subway for a late-night bite, knowing full well they'd try to persuade me to stay if I revealed my true intentions. It was getting late, around 10:30 p.m., and the area of town was not the safest, especially with the darkness that had enveloped the streets as I made my way to the bus stop. Across a sea of faces at the party, there was one individual who stood out. Not for his words, for he was rather quiet, but for the unexpected actions he would soon take. It was the best friend of our host, and under the influence of a few drinks, he concocted what he believed to be a brilliant plan. With the speed of a sprinter, he chased after me for several blocks, his goal to accompany me to Subway, driven by his own hunger and perhaps a touch of chivalry. There I was, walking alone at night, when I became aware of footsteps behind me. A buzzed partygoer on my tail. My instincts kicked in and I was ready to defend myself if the situation called for it. However, his intentions were far from dangerous. Breathless, he caught up to me and simply asked if he could tag along. It was an unusual request, but one that led us to an unexpected bonding over sandwiches at Subway. Our conversation flowed easily as we walked back to the party, and we ended up spending the rest of the night in the kitchen, going into discussions about video games, anime, and various other topics that sparked our interests. Before parting ways, we exchanged emails, with him offering to share some anime downloads and to continue our discussions about our favorite series. His handwriting on the piece of paper he gave me was terribly hard to read, but I managed to decipher it, a small testament to the connection we had begun to forge. From that night on, he would make the long bus journey from across the city, almost daily, just to meet me after work and walk me home. Those 10-minute walks became our cherished moments, filled with laughter, shared stories, and a growing affection that neither of us could deny. It was during one of our anime marathons, which we lovingly referred to as Anime Week, that he surprised me with a sudden kiss, followed by a question that seemed to hang in the air. "Are you happy now?" It was a moment that caught me off guard, yet it was perfect in its own unique way. Looking back, we realized that our relationship evolved in a way that defied conventional milestones. He never officially asked me out, and to this day, we can't pinpoint what would be considered our first date. Yet, none of that matters. We've been together for nearly 11 years and we've built a beautiful family, complete with a child who brings us endless joy. Our social awkwardness, which we both struggle with, somehow complements each other. In the presence of others, we might still fumble for words or find ourselves out of step, but together, we create a harmony that feels just right. Our story may not follow the traditional narrative, but it's ours, and it's filled with love, laughter, and a shared understanding that has only grown stronger with time. Story 8. In my younger days, I was deeply immersed in the punk scene, known for my distinctive fishnet clothing and an unwavering passion for metal music. It was during this time that I encountered him, a member of a band that played a unique genre known as scary punk. The band was quite the spectacle, writing songs that paid homage to the cheesy B-scary films that were both loved and mocked within the genre. He was the keyboardist, and to say he was awkward would be an understatement. On stage, he seemed like a fish out of water, his presence marked only by a fake hole adorning his head, a white lab coat drenched in red liquid, and an oddly fitting Sum 41 shirt. It was a look that left me wondering if it was intentionally ironic or not. It turned out it wasn't, but it added to the charm of the performance. The show itself was a blast, a wild and energetic experience that left a lasting impression on me, so much so that I purchased a band t-shirt as a memento of the night. As time marched on, 4 years to be exact, I found myself browsing a dating site when I came across a profile that stopped me in my tracks. There, mentioned clearly in his bio, was the name of the band he played in. The memories of that night came flooding back, and I felt a strong urge to reach out and share with him how much joy and entertainment his band had brought me. The person behind the profile had transformed from the quirky keyboard player to a corporate IT professional, complete with a tie and a more conventional appearance. Yet, the essence of the nerdy musician I remembered was still there, hidden beneath the surface of his new, more formal persona. Our journey towards meeting was a slow burn,
taking us 6 months to finally find a time that worked for both of our hectic schedules, but once we did, it was as if no time had passed. We connected on a level that was both unexpected and deeply fulfilling. Fast forward another 4 years, and our lives have intertwined in the most beautiful way. We're now happily married, with the excitement of expecting our first child together next month. Reflecting on my experience, I can't help but want to share a piece of advice with anyone who might be on the lookout for love. Don't overlook the nerdy guys. It might just surprise you with their depth, kindness, and intelligence. He has been the sweetest, kindest, and smartest man I've ever known, and I can't fathom my life without him by my side. Story 9. Our story began on a night out with friends at an arcade-themed bar. A place filled with the sounds of laughter, clinking glasses, and the occasional ping of a high score being achieved. Among the group was a friend of mine who had brought along a few of her acquaintances, including the man who would eventually steal my heart. As the evening progressed, I found myself more relaxed than usual, thanks to the lighthearted atmosphere and the gentle buzz from the drinks I had consumed. It wasn't long before I was chatting away with this new group of friends, my usual reserve melting away under the influence of the joyful surroundings. One conversation in particular stood out, a playful exchange with a man who had become my boyfriend. In my slightly tipsy state, I began asking him questions that, in hindsight, might have seemed a bit forward. "How tall are you?" I inquired, to which he responded with a shy smile, 5'8". Without missing a beat, I declared, "That's the perfect height for me." Our conversation continued with me asking about his workplace, and upon learning he worked in Midtown, I jokingly suggested, "Oh, we'll clearly have to hang out again since we'll obviously run into each other again." It was a lighthearted comment filled with laughter and a sense of connection that I hadn't anticipated. As the night unfolded, our group decided to move the festivities to a karaoke bar, a place where inhibitions are left at the door and the spirit of camaraderie takes center stage. There he and I found ourselves singing duets together, our voices blending in a harmony that seemed to encapsulate the connection between us. Between performances, we would sit together on the karaoke couch, our bodies naturally leaning into each other, almost cuddling, as if drawn together by an invisible force. It was at the end of this magical night that he finally mustered the courage to ask me out. He later confessed that, without the hints I had unknowingly given him throughout the evening, it would have been too much of a wuss to take the leap. Even then, his nerves got the better of him, and while I was away in the bathroom, he turned to my friend for reassurance, asking, "Do you think she would go out with me?" My friend, seeing his hesitation, playfully nudged him towards taking the chance, knowing full well that our connection was undeniable. Looking back, I can't help but smile at the series of events that brought us together. It was a night filled with laughter, music, and the kind of serendipitous moments that one can only hope to experience. Our story is a testament to the fact that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the most beautiful chapters in our lives. Story 10. Allow me to recount a story of serendipity and resilience, one that has woven the fabric of my life with threads of both darkness and light. It begins in the middle of my university days, a period marked by the aftermath of a relationship that, in hindsight, was as empty as it was clingy. I was grappling with the long shadows of moderate sadness, a battle that had been raging within me for years. It was 6 months after the dissolution of that relationship that I found myself at the local rock bar, surrounded by the familiar faces of my housemates. Yet, across the friendship and the clinking of glasses, I was ensnared by the tender of a past that refused to let go. Buzziness had loosened my inhibitions, leading me to text my ex-partner, a deluge of sentimentality and self-pity that cast a pall over the evening. In that moment, I was the epitome of despair, a figure so pitiful that I could scarcely recognize myself. It was then that she, the woman who would become my partner, saw through the haze of my distress. She approached me, her presence a beacon of calm in the storm of my emotions. With a firm yet gentle hand, she took my phone from me and urged me to unburden my soul. I, in my misery, attempted to divert her attention to the more silly pursuits of the night, to the pool table and the dance floor, while I wallowed in self-pity. But she was determined, her concern for my well-being overshadowing any desire for brief entertainment. Her intervention that night was a turning point, a moment when the tide of my despair began to recede. She stayed by my side, a guardian against the darkness that threatened to consume me. As the night drew to a close, she accompanied me home, her parting words a reminder to cease the barrage of texts that served only to reopen old wounds. The next day, her messages began to arrive, a lifeline cast to a man drowning in his own sorrows. Each day, without fail, she checked in on me, her concern a balm to my battered spirit. For 2 months, our connection was forged in the simplicity of shared movie nights, in the comfort of each other's company, and in the exchange of thoughts and feelings.
We were friends, and from that foundation, something more began to blossom. It was another night, one filled with the courage that only comes from the depths of a bottle, that I found the strength to reevaluate my life and to act upon the realization that my heart's true north lay with her. The journey since has been one of growth and learning, a testament to the power of understanding and forgiveness. I'm acutely aware of the burdens I've placed upon her, of the mistakes I've made, and of the guilt that accompanies such missteps. Yet through it all, she has remained a steadfast presence, her smile a homecoming that I cherish above all else. She's my confidant, my companion, the singular friend to whom I entrust my heart. And in her, I've found a love that I would not trade for all the world. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 11. In the quiet corners of my life as an introvert, I found solace in the familiar and the routine. As the years passed, a sense of unease began to settle over my parents. They watched as I navigated through life without the companionship that often comes with a serious relationship. It was during this time that my father approached me with a gentle suggestion. He spoke of a young woman who worked at his office. She was kind, he said, and he wondered if I might be interested in meeting her. My initial response was a polite decline, a reflex born from years of shying away from the unfamiliar. However, life has a way of presenting us with moments that challenge our inclinations. It was during a visit to church, a place of reflection and spiritual connection, that my path took an unexpected turn. As the sermon unfolded, the speaker's words seemed to weave through the congregation, finding their way directly to me. His gaze felt like it was fixed on mine as he uttered words that resonated deep within me. God has something special for you. Give him a chance to give it to you. It was as if the universe itself was nudging me forward, encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone. Inspired by the message I had received, I found the courage to reach out to the young woman my father had mentioned. With a phone call that felt both ordinary and momentous, I initiated a conversation that would change the course of my life. We spoke, and it was as if we had known each other for years. Our connection was instant, a click that transcended the awkwardness of first encounters. That phone call was the beginning of a journey that has now spanned over 4 decades. We were married, and our union has been a testament to the power of taking a chance, of listening to the whispers of fate that sometimes guide us toward our destiny. Looking back, I am certain that without the accidental combination of my father's suggestion and the sermon's message, I might have continued along a solitary path, never knowing the depth of love and partnership that awaited me. It is a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes in our lives begin with the simplest of steps. Story 12. In the early days of high school, during my freshman year, I found myself following the bright lights and theatrical magic of our school's musical production. It was there that our paths first crossed in a meaningful way. We were both cast members, and fate, or perhaps the director's keen eye for chemistry, paired us as a couple for a particular scene. I was painfully awkward in those days, my social radar practically non-existent. I moved through life with a sense of obliviousness that was both a blessing and a curse. The night of the opening performance arrived, a whirlwind of nerves and excitement backstage. In the midst of the chaos, he approached me, a glint of anticipation in his eyes. "A good look, Kiss?" he asked, the words hanging in the air between us. My response was as innocent as it was naive. I leaned in and kissed him on the cheek, a gesture of friendship rather than romance. Years passed, the seasons changing from one school year to the next, until we found ourselves once again entangled in the world of drama and make-believe. The fall play was upon us, and as fate would have it, we were cast as the mother and father of the lead character. It was a role that mirrored our offstage dynamic in a way that was both comforting and amusing. Upon seeing the cast list, he turned to me with a smile, commenting, "Seems like we're a couple again." Rehearsals became our routine, a time when our friendship began to deepen. One evening, as we took a break from the intensity of the performance preparations, he did something that took our relationship to the next level. Without a word, he put his arm around me, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. As the weeks rolled by, our connection continued to grow. At the marching band banquet, an event that brought together the melodies of our shared interests, he sought me out, choosing to sit by my side. I, in my perpetual state of social innocence, failed to grasp the full meaning behind his actions. Yet, by the end of the night, under the soft glow of the banquet hall, we had a conversation that was brief yet pivotal. In a moment of mutual understanding, we agreed to embark on a journey of dating, a decision that felt both exhilarating and inevitable. News of our budding relationship reached the ears of our drama teacher, a woman who had witnessed the ebb and flow of many a high school romance. With a playful yet serious tone, she jokingly decreed that we were not to break up. Her words a gentle reminder to keep the peace during the production. We took our words to heart, little knowing that her offhand comment would foreshadow a future far beyond the confines of the stage. It has been over 15 years since that fall, a span of time that has seen the curtain rise and fall in the countless performances of our lives. Through it all, we have remained together, a testament to the enduring bond that was first sparked under the bright lights of the high school stage. Our story is a reminder that sometimes the roles we play can lead to the most unexpected yet beautiful realities. Story 13. In the quiet hum of a math class, where the air was thick with the scent of chalk and the murmur of calculations, a moment of unexpected joy found its way to me. The lecture was in full swing, the professor's voice a steady stream of theorems and proofs, when a subtle movement caught my eye. It was him, his fingers dancing across the screen of his phone, a modern-day messenger sending a note through the digital ether. The message, simple yet profound, asked if I'd like to share a meal with him once the confines of the classroom were behind us. This act of reaching out, though small, was set against the backdrop of a classroom where the mere sight of a phone could incite a tempest. Our professor was a guardian of the old ways, believing that the path to knowledge was paved with undivided attention and a strict ban of the digital distractions of the modern world. To her, a phone was not just a device. It was a symbol of disrespect, a tool of distraction that could derail the hard-earned focus of the classroom. Yet in that moment, as the note made its silent journey to me, the world outside the window seemed to pause. The words on the screen were a bridge between two souls, a connection forming in the most unlikely of places. When our professor's gaze finally landed on us, the storm that we had anticipated broke loose. Her voice, usually a calm guide through the complexities of mathematics, rose in a crescendo of disapproval. The lecture hall became a stage for a different kind of lesson, one on the importance of respect and attention in the learning environment. But along the scolding, there was an undercurrent of joy that refused to be dampened. Our eyes met. In the exchange of smiles, we found an ally in each other. It was as if the world around us faded away, leaving only the two of us, connected by a simple question and a shared moment of defiance. From that day forward, we became more than just classmates. We became study partners, our shared love for learning a common ground that grew into a deep friendship. As the semester progressed, so did our bond, evolving from study buddies to best friends and eventually, after a year, to something even more meaningful. He became my boyfriend, a title that encompassed the myriad of emotions and connections we had built over time. Our story is a testament to the power of small moments, to the idea that sometimes the most significant connections can sprout from the simplest of gestures. It reminds us that even in the most structured of environments, where rules and expectations dictate the flow of each day, the human heart finds ways to connect, to reach out and to build bridges of understanding and affection. In the end, it was a note sent in the quiet of a math class that set the stage for a journey of friendship, love, and shared dreams. I guess the next time I'm in a lecture, I'll be less focused on the quadratic equation and more on who's sitting next to me. Story 14. In the journey of our lives, my husband and I weave a story that began over a decade and a half ago, the vibrant years of our youth. Our journey commenced in the 11th grade, along with the glow of stage lights and the hushed anticipation of an audience gathered for a play presented by our school's drama club. It was there, in the darkness of the auditorium, that our paths first crossed. Although the encounter was far from conventional, I recall the evening vividly, the air thick with excitement and the whisper of impending drama, both on and off the stage. My attention was diverted from the performance by what I perceived as a disturbance in the audience. In my youthful passion for order and respect for the arts, I turned to the source of the disruption, ready to silence it with a firm rebuke. It was him, a fellow student whose face I recognized from the hallways of our school. In my eagerness to maintain decorum, I issued an ultimatum that, in hindsight, was rather extreme. I warned him of dire consequences should he continue to disturb the peace, a moment of intensity that I would later forget but that left an indelible mark on him. As the seasons changed and the calendar turned, a new opportunity for our paths to intersect presented itself. It came in the form of a Valentine's Day fundraiser, organized by one of the school's booster clubs. This event, designed to bring students together based on the results of a short personality quiz, was the backdrop against which our connection deepened. To our mutual surprise, we were paired as a match. It was he who approached me, armed with this news, his demeanor a mix of nervousness and shyness that I found utterly adorable. Little did I know, his trepidation stemmed not from the moment itself, but from the memory of an earlier fiery warning. What unfolded between us was a revelation. He confessed to being drawn to strong, assertive women, a trait he found not just in my initial threat, but in my very essence. For him, it was not the nature of our first encounter that mattered, but the courage to take the first step and strike up a conversation. Despite the apparent mismatch in our interests, he, a devotee of all things nerdy, from video games and Dungeons and Dragons to comic books, and I, with a fondness for social gatherings and the lively atmosphere of parties, we discovered a bond that transcended these superficial differences. Our relationship blossomed, a testament to the idea that love knows no bounds, that it can flourish in the most unexpected places, between the most unlikely of people. As we navigated the journey of adolescence to adulthood, our connection only grew stronger, rooted in mutual respect, shared laughter, and the understanding that our differences were not barriers but bridges to a deeper, more enriching relationship. Our story is a reminder that sometimes it's not about having everything in common, but about embracing and celebrating each other's unique qualities, about finding beauty in the contrast and harmony in the diversity of our interests and passions. Story 15. In the beginning of high school, where every day brings new challenges and opportunities, my journey to finding a prom date took an unexpected turn that would shape the course of my life. It was a moment of disappointment that led to a serendipitous encounter, one that would eventually blossom into a lasting relationship. As the excitement for the senior prom began to build, I found myself in a predicament. I had a dress, anticipation, a date, or so I thought. 3 weeks before the event, my hopes were dashed and my intended partner canceled, leaving me in a state of distress. It was during this time, in the quiet moments of a physics class, that I confided with Terrence, who happened to be the best friend of the person who would become my future fiancé. Terrence, with a spark of enthusiasm in his eyes, shared that his friend Kevin had never experienced the magic of a school dance and was contemplating taking the plunge that year. Kevin, as fate would have it, was not a stranger to me. He was a fellow student in not one but two of my classes, including the very physics class where this conversation unfolded. Yet in the bustling life of a high school student, I had never truly noticed him before. Terrence, seizing the moment, pointed Kevin out to me across the room. It was as if I was seeing him for the first time. With Terrence's encouragement and the promise of a new beginning, I agreed to the idea of attending the prom with Kevin. Terrence, playing the role of a matchmaker, set the wheels in motion. By the next school day, Kevin had mustered the courage to ask me to be his prom date, a question that filled me with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. In the days leading up to the prom, we embarked on a double date, a suggestion from Terrence to help us get to know each other better. It was during this time that I found myself taking the initiative, holding Kevin's hand and steering our conversations, a gesture that seemed to bridge the gap between us. A week before the prom, Kevin took me on a memorable outing to a park. It was there, under the canopy of trees by the river, that he awkwardly, yet sweetly, asked me to be his girlfriend. It was a moment that felt both surreal and perfect, a pivotal point in our burgeoning relationship. The prom night itself was everything one could hope for and more. It was a night filled with laughter, dancing, and the shared experience of a first kiss. A moment captured in a photo booth that, despite its awkwardness, has become a cherished memory. As the years unfolded, our relationship has grown stronger, evolving from high school sweethearts to an engaged couple, with our anniversary fast approaching in May. It's a testament to the unexpected turns life can take, and how a moment of disappointment can lead to a lifetime of happiness. Story 16. In the heart of summer, along with the laughter and adventures that camp brings, our story began to unfold. It was a place where days were filled with sunshine and nights with starlit skies, a perfect setting for friendships to blossom. It was here, surrounded by the magic of nature and the joy of youth, we first crossed paths. Little did we know then that this meeting would mark the beginning of a journey that would take us through the highs and lows of life, ultimately leading us to a love that would stand the test of time. Our connection was immediate, forged in the shared experiences and challenges that camp life presented. We were not just colleagues. We were comrades in the quest to create unforgettable memories for the campers under our care. It was during this time we exchanged numbers, a simple act that would soon lead to conversations that spanned far beyond the logistics of camp activities. One day, as I lay in my bunk, the silence of the night broken only by the chorus of crickets, my phone notified with a message from him. His words were hesitant, speaking of a girl he had feelings for, a girl he feared to approach lest he be met with rejection, or worse, make things awkward between them. I, with a boldness that comes from the safety of a text message, urged him to take a leap, to tell her how he felt. It was only when he confessed that the girl was me that I realized the depths of his feelings. Our relationship blossomed in the aftermath of that confession, a few months of happiness and discovery. However, as often happens in the stories of young love, our paths diverged. We wanted different things, our futures taking shapes that no longer aligned. It was a hard decision, but one we made with the hope that it was for the best. Yet the threads of our connection were not so easily severed. The camp that had brought us together also provided the ground for our friendship to rekindle. Working side by side once more, we found that the bond we had formed was not so easily broken. It was a testament to the strength of our connection, a friendship that had weathered the storm of a romance that was not meant to be. As the years marched on, life took us on separate adventures, each of us exploring the world and discovering more about ourselves. But fate, it seems, had not finished with us. Once again, through the simple act of texting, our paths crossed in a way that felt eerily familiar. He spoke of feelings for a girl, of fears that echoed those from years past. And once again, I found myself encouraging him, pushing him to take a chance, to let her know how he felt. It was in that moment, with a response that mirrored the past, that he revealed his feelings were for me. It was a revelation that took me back to those summer nights, to the camp that had been the stage for our first romance. This time, however, we were older, wiser, and ready to embrace the love that had found its way back to us. Our journey from friends to lovers and back to friends, only to find our way back to each other, is a testament to the complex dance of love and friendship. It is a story of second chances, of love that endures beyond the seasons, and of a connection that, though tested by time and circumstances, remained unbreakable. Now, as we stand together, husband and wife, our laughter and teasing about the past are reminders of the journey we have traveled. Our marriage, a beautiful culmination of years of friendship and love, is a daily celebration of the paths that crossed, diverged, and ultimately led us back into each other's arms. It is a love story that reminds us that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives are those we least expect. Story 17. Our story begins in the innocence of childhood, where the bonds of friendship are formed with the ease and purity that only the young can muster. He was the brother of one of my dearest friends, a boy with a bright smile and a heart full of dreams. From the moment he was a kid, I watched him grow, a silent witness to the passage of his youth. In those early days, he harbored a sweet, childlike affection for me, a sentiment that, while acknowledged, remained unpursued due to the gentle barrier of age that lay between us. As the seasons changed and years passed, our connection endured, though it remained firmly rooted in friendship. The boy grew into a young man, and I, too, navigated the journey from adolescence to adulthood. Our paths, though intertwined by the bonds of friendship and familiarity, seemed destined to remain platonic, a comfortable companionship devoid of romantic overtures. Then, after nearly 15 years, a significant event marked a turning point in our story. He was set to move away, to embark on a new chapter in a distant state. It was a moment of change, of saying goodbyes and reflecting on the memories that had been woven over the years. His sister, a cherished friend, extended an invitation to his going-away dinner, a gathering meant to celebrate his life thus far and to wish him well in his upcoming adventure. It was at this dinner, under the soft glow of the restaurant lights and amidst the laughter of friends, that he chose to make a bold declaration of his feelings. As I approached the entrance, he stood ready, holding the door open with a gesture of chivalry. Yet, as I stepped through, he did something entirely unexpected. He playfully pinched my butt. A cheeky act that, in its own way, crossed an invisible line from friendship into the realm of romantic possibility. However, as fate would have it, his plans to move away were set aside, and what began as a playful gesture blossomed into a love story that has now endured for 12 years. In this time, we have not only built a life together, but have also been blessed with 2 precious children, the embodiment of our love and the promise of our future. Our journey, from the innocence of childhood to the depths of a partnership that has withstood the test of time, is a testament to the unpredictable nature of love. It reminds us that sometimes the most enduring relationships are those that begin in the most unexpected ways, growing from the seeds of friendship into a love that is both profound and everlasting.
How did you meet your girlfriend, boyfriend, or significant other? We initially linked up via a dating site. She said that she receives dozens, hundreds of messages a day. For whatever reason, my message stood out to her. She liked that I talked in full words and sentences and that I'd actually read her page and commented on things that I'd read. My stupid self thought it was a good idea to immediately share my chief passion with her. Yeah, glass blowing. I had a small studio set up in the back of a barn, basically in the middle of nowhere. I invited her to come out and check out the studio, maybe show her how to make some stuff. At first, she was all on board. And then suddenly she wasn't. Yeah, it didn't occur to me that inviting a woman out to the middle of nowhere, in the dark, to play with hot glass and explosive gases probably wasn't a good idea. What can I say? I've never been a woman before and had traveled to a number of random glass studios to hang out and create with other artists. I didn't see it as dangerous because I know me, but she didn't. So she decided not to take me up on the glass adventure and instead meet up at a local sushi spot. I will never forget how she looked that night. Black, flowing dress, cut just above the knees, short auburn hair cropped into a pixie cut, light blue eyes, and a smile that immediately melted my heart. I walked into a wall, as she says, where I saw her and immediately stopped and gawked. I just remember thinking to myself, please let her be here for me, please let her be here for me. She was. We've now been together for almost 8 years and married since last March. She's my light, my motivation, and everything that is good in me. She laughs at my stupid jokes, I laugh at hers. I have never known a love like hers, and it is my everything. Sometimes, the best way to someone's heart is through their stomach. Or a well-timed glass-blowing demonstration. Whichever works. Story 2. I had a personal ad on Yahoo back in the day, over 20 years ago now, but I didn't want to pay for whatever premium service they were offering to message prospective love interests. You couldn't put your full name, phone number, or email in the ad, for obvious reasons. However, I did put, my name is blank, but my nickname is old Yahoo username, and then made sure that one of my photos matched my username profile if someone was smart enough to search for it. Only one person was, and he emailed me explaining how he'd tracked me down and promised he wasn't a creep. He was finishing his last year of college in the same city I was working, and we both shared a lot of interests. We emailed back and forth for a few days, then exchanged AIM information and chatted that way for a week or two. Finally met up for dinner one night. We've been together ever since. Married 16 years this year. Story 3. This is probably going to get lost in the huge sea of comments, but here it goes. We met when I worked at a cell phone store. She got a job at my work after working at the frozen yogurt store in the mall. At the time, we were both dating other people in long-term relationships. Our store and coworkers were all very close. We would go out together for drinks, board game nights, movie nights, etc. She fit so perfectly into our work store friend group. She became one of my best friends while we worked together for well over a year. At the time, my health got progressively worse as I was only a year away from being diagnosed with renal cell cancer. This dumb misfit group of degenerate phone salespeople got me through one of the worst times in my life. They would always cover me on shifts when I got too sick or had to leave early. They would drive me to appointments and make sure I was in good spirits. She would throw get-togethers and always made sure I could make it. I found out later she would cancel meetups if I couldn't make it, so I never felt left out. I broke up with my girlfriend because she just couldn't handle everything. It was too much for her. But I had these amazing friends to help me get through it. Thankfully, I was diagnosed very early, stage 1, and was able to go through treatments, then eventually surgery, then remission, then cured. But anyways, we became very close friends. Another coworker, her and I used to have these bad movie nights where we would watch the worst of the worst. Trolls 2, Maximum Overdrive, Saw movies, The Room, etc. And I already had a crush on her. She was like no one I had ever met before. Kind, caring, beautiful, hilarious, with a dark sense of humor. Loved video games, and everything I could dream of. She was still dating her boyfriend, so I never made it obvious or hinted at or flirted. She was my friend, and that's just not who I am. She was there for me when I tried Tinder, branched out, and went on dates again. I never clicked with anyone like I did with her, so nothing ever got serious. She eventually broke up with her boyfriend, and a few weeks later one night we all went out as coworkers to the nightclub. We were all dancing, then she pressed up into me. My heart, I think, almost burst. We danced together and she turned around and we locked eyes. It was like this bolt of lightning hit. We kissed. The whole room disappeared. This moment I'd imagined just happened and she had this goofy smile I'll never forget. The night continued as normal. Fast forward weeks of those dumb bad movie nights and hangouts. I asked her out on a date. She said yes and we had a magical night. Fast forward a few more, I asked her to be my girlfriend. We dated. We met each other's families. Fast forward a year, 2 years. We moved from our hometown together to the big city. Fast forward to yesterday, June 23rd, 2024, and I asked her to marry me. She said yes, and well, now we're engaged. I love her so much, and I'm so happy she decided to get that cell phone store job. Story 4. We were in school together, and she used to pester the living hell out of me and traumatize me. I used to go home and do things myself aggressively in response to the pestering while thinking of her. Every damn day. Fast forward 6 years and I'm a medical student now and I haven't seen her for so long, but I used to think about her from time to time. But one day I just couldn't stop thinking about her day and night. So I started searching her profile on Facebook. I found her, so I added her just to see her photos, but she sent me a message instead, and we started chatting and went out on a walk. My initial thoughts were to show her how muscular, tall, and good-looking I've become, that she can't say crap to me now. She was very good and sweet towards me, and I felt a very weird, calm, and loving feeling towards her, which made me feel weird. So when I got home, I blocked her. 2 more years passed, in which I'd thought about her almost every day, but one day I started missing her hard and thinking about her day and night, so I unblocked her, sent her a request, which she accepted, and I messaged her. We started chatting on a daily basis, and we went out again. This time, I fell for her hard momentarily, and she fell for me too. And we started dating. Now I understand that I have Stockholm Syndrome. Story 5. We met at college. The first time we met was when I had finished a performance of a play that she had come to see, and she met me afterwards to tell me how much she liked it. The first time I remember meeting was a few months later, during dance auditions for a later production that we ended up in together. We were dance partners for that show. We were both in relationships at the time, so we didn't have any pressure about attraction. Got to enjoy being just good friends with each other. Over months, our other relationships ended. Driving around one day, I put my hand on hers and said, "I think we like each other." And she said, "Yeah, I think we do." We kissed at a red light, married for 16 years. I think we like each other as some otherworldly confidence I wish to possess. Story 6. I worked with her best friend at a restaurant where all the employees were a tight-knit family. We'd all hang out and go out or party after shifts and on days off, most of the time at my place. Our mutual friend would bring her around and we just hit it off, having mutual interests and attraction to each other. Things really began when our mutual friend was studying abroad in Italy and my now significant other and I still wanted to hang out despite our mutual friend being away. Our first date was actually painting and cooking in my apartment during that time. Funny caveat, when I was young, maybe 8 years old, my mom brought me to her cousin's daughter's birthday party or neighborhood crawfish boil. Looking back in pics, my now significant other was actually at the birthday party, and we played outside all day. Her family lived in the house next door to my mom's cousin. Invisible string theory, I guess. Engaged after 4 years together, and we'll be married this upcoming February on our 6-year anniversary of officially being together. Crazy where life takes you. Story 7. Him and I were friends and with different people back then, but he always stood out to me. I would behave differently around him. When he passed me in the hallways, my heart would come to my throat. He broke up. After a while, I did too. One afternoon, I texted him saying his presence makes me feel beyond nervous. He asked to meet up. I have a habit of saying yes and not following in the said promise, applicable to meeting people. He told me that I had no choice. I had to come meet him. We went on a 45-minute walk. It was confusing at first to acknowledge feelings when the formal title was friends. We began meeting up for night walks and started holding hands to cross the road. Once he didn't leave my hand after crossing the road, it was one of the best feelings. We started talking about that nervousness of mine I mentioned earlier. Turns out it was the same for him. He told me he used to blush internally every time we passed each other and do the part where we acknowledge each other's presence but do not talk. Story 8. I was working at Walmart when I met my now husband. He was a customer, but his cousin was a cashier with me. I went through her line and asked who I was and wanted my number. She didn't give it to him because she's a snot. Though I saw him a few days later at a local car lot where his dad worked and he waved me over. He knew what kind of car I drove, and I knew what he drove. We had mutual friends in the cool car club back in the day. Lol. Gave him my number and that was that. We'd been together for 22 years. Story 9. I was sitting on the edge of a planter box outside a bar that I was out at with a friend. My friend didn't smoke and I was out having a cigarette. I saw a gal with a smoke in her mouth, searching her pockets for a lighter to no avail. I got up and let her smoke while saying, "Beautiful people don't light their own cigarettes." We talked for the rest of the night, went out for the first date the next day, and 11 plus years later, are married and trying for kids. I'll never forget Troy at the bar I used to go to in Vancouver, who once used that line on me and then gave me permission to use it on the ladies. R.I.P. Troy. Story 10. I met my now wife through an app, not even a dating app. We would spend hours talking, which eventually became us calling every Friday night to have a movie night on Discord. And eventually I started falling for her. And her birthday was coming up and I wanted to visit her so badly. The only issue was, she was in Florida and I was in Switzerland. I'd never ever done anything like travel halfway across the world on my own. It was something completely out of my comfort zone. But I knew there was something special about her, and I took the risk and flew out to see her for her birthday. We had a lovely 8-day trip to Key West, and I found out she also liked me back, and we became official on day 6 out of 8 in the trip. We had to do long distance for a very long time, and we somehow made it work. Just 2 days ago, we got married, and we're living happily together in Switzerland. Story 11. I was very busy and hadn't been on dating sites for a long time, so those sites started spamming me like crazy. I was working 2 jobs, was working on getting a third, and I was very tired. I got another spam email from one of those sites, so I got fed up and decided to sign in just to delete my profile. Turns out I had a recent message. She was cute. Started talking. First date, my now wife and I went for a walk in the park. Green flag, she's cool with a walking first date. After talking for a while and realizing she was cool, I took her to my favorite sushi place. She invited me back to her place to watch a movie and told me to pick the movie from her DVD rack. After looking through her DVDs for a minute, I found the Super Mario Bros. Movie from the 90s with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo. I pulled it out and was like, "You actually own this?" I made fun of her for a couple of minutes and then said we had to watch it. And that's what we did. We made fun of how bad the movie was and laughed our backs off the whole time. That's when I knew I had a winner. Marriage confirmation came after we had been living together for 4 years. We talked about it, and I mentioned the idea of prenups. She had never heard of them and asked what a prenup was. I explained that it's a marriage contract that prevents things like alimony and lets the couple decide for themselves how to divide things in the event of a divorce. Without missing a beat, she said, "Oh, well, that makes perfect sense. People shouldn't be able to go after each other if they break up." Married the heck out of her. Story 12. First time I met her was actually pretty brief if you saw it from the outside, but I was walking through the theater hall at school, skipping class as usual back when I was in high school, and she was running around with her current boyfriend at the time. Also was a good friend of mine in high school. We didn't really care about her, but she didn't want to believe that. Me and her boyfriend started talking as I was passing through, and then about a minute later, some of his friends from sports started to walk by and she started following them. Well, she still stayed there sitting where previously both of them were sitting. I walked up to her and put my hand out to help her up. She accepted it. I was so shocked that she was even accepting me helping her up because I for sure didn't think I was her type considering I knew the people she hung out with looked way better than me. And we chit-chatted for a second. Then we told each other we shed each other around. We ended getting together about a year after high school, and it's almost been 5 years now. And 2 kids later. Story 13. I went to spend a few days at a farm in the interior of the state. In Brazil, the carnival holiday lasts 4 to 5 days, so it's a really cool time to travel. I was enjoying Saturday and Sunday when I noticed a random girl crying in a corner of the event. She told me that she had gone to the farm with her brother to spend the 4 days, but her boss called and told her to go to work on Monday. It was a schmuck because Monday had already been approved and she had already done all her work. But the real reason for crying was that her brother didn't want to lend his car so she could go back to the city to work. Without blinking, I lent my car to that girl, who was previously unknown, and just asked her to return to the party the next day and give me the car back. And that's what she did. People asked me that day if I was crazy for lending my car to someone like that, but I felt it was the right thing to do. I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't get a little worried as the end of the day approached. When it got dark, the girl arrived with my car. When I lent the car, it was covered in dirt. After all, it was a farm, but she gave me the car back impeccably washed and with a full tank of gas. Since then, we have become great friends. In 10 years, I met some of her boyfriends. She met some of my girlfriends. We shared a lot of secrets. We talked a lot. And it was like that for a long time until we realized that we were wasting time and we were made for each other. We've been together for 3 years and they've been the best years of my life. I'm completely in love with her, and she's the love of my life. Story 14. My husband and I have been together for 12 years. We were working at a pizza place together. It was always so quiet. Always just had his head down working. One opening shift, I came in, saw him standing at the counter, and was greeted by this horrible smell. I said good morning and rounded the corner to see our manager cleaning the grease trap. Anyone who has ever smelled a grease trap knows it is bad. I started laughing and said, "Oh, I'm so glad it's the grease trap. I thought it was you that smelled that bad." He responded with, "I'm glad to know you think so highly of me." That kicked off us talking. He was planning on leaving to follow the band further on their East Coast tour and begged me to go with him. We'd only been talking for a month. He asked me, "What are you going to remember in 50 years? A summer making wings or a summer exploring the East Coast?" He asked me to marry him when we got done with the tour, and he only smells as bad as a grease trap every now and then. Story 15. I was waiting tables at a seafood restaurant in my hometown. She was a customer, and I fell in love with her the moment I saw her. I mean, truly a love at first sight thing. It may sound cliche, but it's totally real when it happens. She always came in with her parents, and it was an awkward sort of interaction at first. I didn't know her or anything about her, nor had I ever seen her before. My hometown isn't very big, and it's rare that I'm left clueless about the identity of someone. Anyhow, I wanted to have a way to look her up, so I waited around for her mother to address her by her first name, and when they went to pay, I took the last name off the credit card and put them together to find her. Bit like a stalker, I know. After I found her on Facebook, I went to write her a message, but when I was about to send it, I got a notification in my inbox. It was her. She had found me by doing some internet stalking as well, as it turns out. And the rest is history. We had been together for years. Truly a happy ending. A tale of two stalkers, finding love in the digital age. You from Netflix up in here? Let's go. Story 16. Went to the mall to hang out with some buddies, and my friend's sister who was there. Then 6 months later on AIM. Yeah, I'm old. My friend in one of my classes asked if I would be a wingman for this girl he had a crush on from another school. I said sure. Then while talking to her and learning her last name, I was like, wait, you're our sister? And she said she was, so I immediately told my other friend I can't help him because it's the sister of another friend, and he understood. Never stood a chance anyway. We kept talking, became best friends for years while we dated other people. Later, while she was in college, we both ended up single at the same time for the first time and decided to give it a chance. We've been married 13 years in July. Still good friends with her brother. He immediately approved and basically said, "Took you long enough," and he's the only one of my friends I would have allowed you to date. Lol. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 17. I'm currently in my first ever relationship. We met through a dating app on my first day moving to a new city, which just happened to be on my birthday. She had just come out of a cruel relationship of 7 years and hadn't had the best experience in dating apps, and was about to delete it until we matched. We went on a date and talked about infectious diseases and other random crap. She later decided that she wanted to just be friends, assuming I would just kind of drop off after that, but we continued talking every day because I genuinely just enjoyed talking to her. That eventually just transitioned into us dating. Lots of continuous drama happened with my family that I was living with throughout this time, and I eventually ended up moving in with her and her family. Probably around 6 months of us dating. 3 years later, and we bought a house together, and it's practically a small zoo with all the animals we have. Most that she rescued before we started dating. We're still together 24/7, since we both work from home and neither of us have come close to getting bored of each other. Unfortunately, my partner's dad has been in the ICU 3 weeks after complications from a heart attack. It's terrifying, and the most stressful thing I've ever experienced. He had to be transferred to a hospital 2 hours away to get the care he needed. He's still very critical, but we've been seeing improvements throughout the entire experience. Every day brings some new terrifying thing they think might be happening, only to then be told that it isn't. I've been driving the 2 hours between the houses every other day and sometimes daily to feed or medicate our pets, and take care of our house and my parents, and then coming back to support my partner and her mom. This is both the hardest thing I've ever done and the easiest because my love for my partner and her family makes it feel like I don't even have a choice since this just needs to be done. I really hope he makes it through this because it's important to my partner that I ask for her dad's permission to marry her. And I know she really wants him to be there to walk her down the aisle. Story 18. Last weekend of my freshman year of college, I was hanging out with my usual group of friends when one guy suggested, "Oh, we should get the DM of my D&D campaign in on this. She's an awesome narrator and she loves this game." She was so cute, shy, and awkward, but once we started playing Mafia, it was like she was possessed. Normally, people just say, "Oops, this person got terminated," but she delivered full monologues about this absurd, horrifying ways each victim was taken. Her creativity, silliness, and the sudden disappearance of her shyness were captivating. I eventually joined her D&D campaign and she proved to be a brilliant DM, just as predicted. It wasn't until the end of her junior year that I finally asked her out, but I guess what matters is that I worked up the courage eventually. Story 19. I was essentially blackmailed into meeting him. I was a medic doing coverage for an EOD range. My engine of my field ambulance blew as I was backing out to position in a new spot. It looked as if I had done something wrong, and with a command team that harshly punished people for any mistake I was concerned about, The lead of the range I coordinated said he would not tell them exactly how it happened and also put in a good word for me if I went on a couple of dates with a soldier who was afraid to talk to women. So I did, and in turn he had threatened to beat the crap out of my significant other if he screwed this up. We became friends and eventually started dating, and are now engaged and expecting our first child. It turns out that it actually wasn't my fault the engine blew, as a mechanic left a penny in a critical component to the engine that managed to do all the damage. So we often say we met because of a badly placed penny. Story 20. After my mother passed, I had a lot of free time since my life was basically solely about taking care of her and helping ease her pain the best I could. I decided to try an online dating app. Plenty of Fish because I was feeling lonely. I'd used it long ago when it first came out, but only for a short bit. I'm chatting with this woman, but she stopped talking to me, so I left her alone. The next day, I went to my local bar. I had been there a decent amount, but wasn't much of a drinker, so I didn't go too often. Now, my dad and my mother, when she was still healthy enough to leave the house, basically lived there whenever he was home. Merchant Marine. They had pictures of them all over the bar and of the charity they held for my mother. Well, I saw this woman a few seats over and recognized her tattoos. It was the woman I was just talking to on Plenty of Fish. So I tried to start a conversation with a classic, "So, what are you drinking?" She told me, and the bartender chimed in and basically drowned me out, so I let them talk. After I left, I messaged her again to see if it was actually her. It was. To avoid the thought of her thinking I was stalking her or something, I told her about the pictures of my family and I on the wall. Turns out she knew my dad, but not from the bar. Her uncle was my dad's best friend. She actually met him a lot because she briefly lived with her uncle. We continued talking, and it turns out we knew all the same people. I actually worked with her brother and cousin. They were close friends of mine. Though we had never met, at least that either of us could remember, but we're pretty sure we must have at one point. We talked some more and how we're dog people. Turns out we both had super dachshunds, which is a dachshund pit bull mix. Slightly bigger than a dachshund, but bulky like a pit bull. And to a bigger shock, her dog was actually my mother's dog's that I inherited after she passed, Mom. It was a big, small world moment. We've been together for 5 years now. Story 21. I was a paramedic for the county 911 system, and she was an ER nurse at the time. I used to hope beyond hope my patients would go to her. We eventually started talking on Facebook. Yes, it was me who hit her up. It was slow going at first until she found out I had a book she wanted to read, and I offered to bring it to her. Book 3 of the Divergent series. From there, it really took off. We would talk on the phone for hours. Finally went on her first date to the Museum of Science in a Barnum and Bailey show. I drove to her house to pick her up. She had a new car that she really liked, so she wanted us to take it. I drove. It turns out that I had an old burgundy Eclipse at the time. I thought it was ugly and just didn't want to be in it. Found that out years later. We pretty much started living together from then on. And here we are 10 years and 3 kids later. Story 22. We both ran in the same circle of friends in junior high school, so she was there in the group when we all went to parties, the beach, movies, or whatever. Not always there, but most of the time. Just like I didn't go every time. Anyway, we knew each other pretty well, but we never dated. She has pictures of me in her backyard when she threw a kegger in high school. After high school, we had all gone separate ways, like lots of friend groups do. Around 30 years later, after we both had gone our own ways and we both had dad-first marriages, we reconnected on a school social media site. Saw each other's names and started emailing back and forth. After a couple of years, it turned into phone calls and just meetups to talk. Then we started dating. After 10 years, we tied the knot and now have been happily married for 12 years. Even though we were friends early on, we both agreed if we had dated back then or married, it wouldn't have lasted. The timing was off. Story 23. I transferred colleges. First semester, first week at the new school. I walked into the class and didn't know anyone. There were several open chairs and I chose to sit down next to the pretty blonde girl who smiled at me when I walked in. We made small talk, but there wasn't any love at first sight kind of moment. But the next week, I saw her in the library and we talked again. I found out she had also just transferred and didn't really know anyone either. We bonded over that and started getting lunch together before class in the commuter student food court. I asked her in November how her weekend had been and said it was awful because it had been her 21st birthday. The only people who celebrated with her were her parents. I joked that if she really needed someone to take her out for her birthday, I would do that. Instead of laughing, she looked at me and said, "Really? Okay, I'm free on Saturday." The rest is history. They've been married since 2008 and have 3 kids. Story 24. We worked in the same organization, but the teams were very different, so there was no mutual connection. I always saw her while exiting the floor as her desk was right opposite the walkway. She's so pretty. Half of the office had a crush on her. I always thought I had no chance as there was nothing in common and she probably was getting so much attention already. She was. This went on for almost 6 to 7 months, and when I started making my mind up to leave the company, I thought I had to try. However bleak my chances were, I don't want to live in regret. So I gathered a amount of courage and texted her on our official message app. Not very proud of it, but somehow I knew this is the best chances of getting a reply. I told her very straightforward that I find her very cute, and I have a crush on her. She didn't reply after the initial hello, so I panicked and felt like a creep. I apologized the next day. She had shared the snapshot of my messages to her close friends, and they were laughing at yet another creep texting her. Now that I know, she texted me, "Relax," the next day, and that's it. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to never go back to the office, and I thought it was over. I kept thinking about it over and over again and how stupid I was to do it like this. So 3 days later, we crossed paths in the office. I couldn't look at her, so I immediately turned my eyes the other way. Later that night, I got a text from her. Who texts like that? No freaking way. I was so happy when I saw the notification and surprised at the same time what made her text me all of a sudden. So we kept chatting. It flowed really well. I was able to make her laugh, joking about the whole situation myself. So we exchanged our socials and kept chatting. 2 days later, I took her out for dinner and we went on 2 more dates the following week. We really liked each other's company at first. I always made my intentions clear, although she wasn't that interested in me initially. I wasn't an instant success, but it took 2 months and a lot of dates when she finally told me that she is also into me. I'm not kidding. I felt like a really good dream when she told me this. I almost had tears in my eyes. It has been a little over a year now, and we're engaged. I never could have dreamt I would be marrying this girl back in March 2023. But here we are, so happy with each other. We've talked about this so much, how it started and how she was totally oblivious about me, and she says she's so grateful that I made a move on her. We're soulmates. Story 25. Facebook. Her school friend. I wrote a status about Harry Potter and how I wished it was going to be in 3D. He commented, basically trying to wind me up. 2 times he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said no because he was 20 and I was 17. To me, there was a big age gap. When I turned 18, he asked me again, and I said yes. We are now 14 years together and 13 years engaged. He was so sure of being happy with me that he asked me to marry him on our 1-year anniversary. Ever since then, we have never looked back. We are extremely happy. Don't know when the wedding will be because the cost of stuff is just disgusting, to be honest. But either way, we're extremely happy together with our little dog, and hopefully someday we'll be blessed with a child of our own. He's my absolute everything. He has no idea how much he does for me, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Without him, I have no idea who I would be. I probably don't tell him often enough how proud I am of him, but he sure knows that I love him. He's helped me through some tough times, and it didn't matter how many times I complained, how many times I've cried about work and so forth. He always sits and listens and expresses his opinion and makes me see sense when I'm boiling over. That man is my absolute rock. Story 26. After an almost day with a very cute but volatile woman in a nearby city, I threw up my hands and figured I'd remain single. I did stop for drinks before getting back to my apartment. I also picked up a local free paper for something to read. After probably 3 drinks, I saw the personals in the paper and read one that floored me. It was so specific, I was the only person it could describe. After another drink, I called my best friend who lives in Seattle to tell him I was getting married. Drinks are just amazing. I needed him to be my best man. He then proceeded to ask about her, and I sheepishly admitted I'd not met her yet. I was still sure she was the one. Took a week or so to make contact. We had lunch, and she was certainly cute. She gave me her number, but I had a cross-country road trip starting the next day. I lost her number and screamed at myself for being so stupid. After about 2 weeks, the number fell out of a book. I used it as a bookmark. I called immediately. The volatile Miss Dade called me some months later to apologize and asked what I was doing. I was actually in bed with my soon-to-be wife. I told her I was getting married, and her voice broke and told me that was great, really great. She didn't make the wedding. We've got 3 amazing kids who are adults, 2 are in master's programs, and 1 is working on his architecture license. I've retired now, and I still can't imagine a better person to spend my life with. Yes, my friend I called after a few drinks was my best man. Story 27. I met my girl at a friend's picnic. She was hitting on me, but I was actually focused on some other people since she went with someone. Not exclusive. Next thing I know is that her friend was hitting on me, but had feelings for my soon-to-be girlfriend, so I just let it go. A week later, my soon-to-be girlfriend told me this person was crazy as hell. She thought I was hot, so we went on a cute date in front of the beach at night. 2 months later, I invited her to a restaurant in the top of a hotel at night. I told her I wanted to go to this event and wanted to bring her, but I didn't want to introduce her as a friend. She understood what I meant, and we kissed. We were a couple, officially. 1 hour later, I'm at her house with the in-laws. It was quite weird, not gonna lie. That was around 1.5 years ago. I think I want to marry her for real. Story 28. I was interested in learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I went with my then boss, now colleague or peer, to observe their weekly game. Met everyone at the table, sit in a chair, and watched. I was recently out of a relationship at the time, and I was really just spending time with me. Cut to 3 years later. Our offices had opened back up post-pandemic. I'm sitting at my desk, the only person in my corner of the building, and I hear someone say, "I fell for brains." I apparently gave him a go-to-hell look because who the hell was he and how did he know my name? Oh, he was at that table 3 years earlier. We had one conversation. He said something about being gray-haired, and I said it made him look distinguished. I was being polite. He apparently ran or walked to text my boss to find out if I was flirting with him. I wasn't. I was being nice, which is what my boss told him. Well, one conversation became two, became a date, became several dates, became friends with because honestly, I never wanted to date again, and he wasn't really into serious relationships at the time. Became a relationship with boundaries and trust and emotional attachment. Became a serious relationship with future plans. I asked him to marry me when I was super sick in December, and he took care of me without batting an eye. He officially proposed on a 3-year anniversary a few months ago, but I ultimately Uno reversed him by also having a ring and being prepared to propose. I made this man wait 2 years to meet my children. I've held fast to who I am and not lost myself in us. He encourages me and lets me be his biggest cheerleader. He means what he says and says what he means. He doesn't play mind games with me or have unrealistic expectations of me. He's one of my best friends. He's emotionally healthy, full of life, knows how to make me laugh. Respect how absolutely independent I am, which has been difficult because a lot of men say they want an independent woman but don't know how to deal with her actually being independent. Communicates well, treats everyone with kindness, embraces my weird, and just loves me for me. He's the bee's knees in the cat's pajamas. Story 29. My coworker at the time recommended an online dating site after I confided in him that I wasn't having much luck in the relationship department. He told me the name of the website so I could look it up. OK Cup ID. I was very confused about the name until I typed it into my browser window. He's dyslexic, so in retrospect, I shouldn't have been surprised. Anyway, after many failed attempts at chatting and a few unsuccessful dates, I was losing hope. I was about to give up and just passively wait for someone to come along that was right for me. Then I saw it. A blank profile picture of this gorgeous girl with her orange cat. I sent, probably, some stupid message and we started chatting. Turned out that we lived in the same apartment complex. I had to very, very carefully bring that up in our first phone conversation so she wouldn't think I was a psycho stalker. It's now 14 years later. We've been married for 9 years. Story 30. We were both into cosplay and attending conventions. It was nearing the end of the con's hours for the day, and the 2 longtime friends I was with decided to head out a bit early. There was still an hour or so, and tickets were expensive, so I was going to milk the last 45 minutes as hard as I could. I wandered a bit, bought some merch, and happened to see her in cosplay from the same game, so I decided to strike up a conversation. From my perspective, we had a brief but very enjoyable conversation. Then I noticed her friends leaving, so I let her go, and I thought that was that. But as it turns out, her friends had to use the restroom at the exact same time my friends did. They heard her describe my cosplay, and to her disappointment, she didn't get any of my contact info. My friends overheard this, gave her my Instagram, and long story short, I'm a little stupid, so it took another couple months for us to start dating, but we've been together since. Story 31. After a mutual friend completely forgot to invite me to their wedding, which I didn't expect an invite anyways, which was totally okay, she apologized and eventually sent a formal invite weeks in advance of the wedding. I show up with friends, sit down, and I see this cute girl in a floral dress on the other side. I think that she probably has a boyfriend, but oh well, I'll have fun with my friends and it'll be a good time either way. Reception rolls around and the DJ starts rapping music in front of the dinner area. A cute girl in a floral dress is dancing with a girlfriend, which was an indication that she might not have a boyfriend. At that point, I'm getting antsy. The buddies aren't really into dancing, so I get up and walk over to the girls, and the second my foot hits the dance floor, Everybody by Backstreet Boys comes on. And I start dancing with her and her friend. Fast forward 6 years to now, and we're getting married in 2 months in this exact day.
People with boyfriends and girlfriends.
How did you meet them, and what advice would you give to someone looking for their significant other? If it doesn't happen naturally, it's probably not going to last. Forcing either person to have feelings for the sake of the relationship does not make a relationship. Remember, the goal isn't to make that specific person your significant other. It is to find someone with whom you can both be happy. Be proactive, but if it's not working, don't let yourself be heartbroken over it. There are other fish in the sea is a stupid saying because it sounds like you'll be able to find someone better, but what you should really get out of it was that was not your fish. But what if I want a seahorse? Because seahorses mate for life. Story 2. My story is kind of strange. Not sure I can give you any advice. I met him when we were kids. I'm 3 years older than him. Up until about 3 or 4 years back, I've treated him like a brother. I started dating my ex-husband when I was 16. My current significant other at the time was 12 or 13, so a weird age gap. My ex-husband and I dated for 9 years, got married, got divorced. Being in a relationship for a decade and getting married makes you think a certain way. It's weird, like a mixture of being extremely picky and being totally fine settling for the first guy who gives you attention. Anyway, my current significant other became one of my best friends over the past 5 years. As I mentioned before, I thought of him as my brother. He now admits to crushing on me around when we started getting comfortable with one another, but he refrained from saying anything stupid, making me feel awkward and always being supportive of my train wreck of a relationship. My ex-husband is an alcoholic. He would always scream at me in front of my family and friends after a couple of drinks. Every single time, my current significant other would take the intoxicated out, calm him down, and tell him that he's being unacceptable. My ex-husband really respected him, oddly enough. Anyway, this was a common occurrence, until one time where my current significant other snapped and just said, "I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry. I can't tell him the same thing every single time. Can't watch him degrade you in front of us. Can't watch you cry again." At that moment, something clicked in my head. It was right. I didn't need to take this crap anymore. I was unhappy as heck. Anyway, we got separated, divorced, and moved on. From the point where my current significant other snapped, I started to admire him. Admiration turned to feelings. One thing led to another, and here we are, almost 2 years strong. Story 3. My boyfriend and I met on OkCupid and have been together for about 8 months now. I was his very first OkCupid date. My advice would be to keep an open mind and an open heart. My boyfriend has really bad anxiety, which kept him out of the dating scene for several years. Per his therapist's suggestion, he joined OkCupid but was doubtful about finding someone because of his anxiety and, well, it's online dating. He was so nervous on our first date. He retched after dinner. He was shaking when I kissed him. 3 dates later, didn't sleep a wink the first night I stayed over. On my end, I was in the middle of switching careers and my life was about to change dramatically. I was scared that I would not be able to give him the time or care that someone as kind and good as him deserved. Despite all the above, we decided to take it day by day. The trembling eventually stopped. I was finally able to sleep next to me. The conversations got longer and deeper. He brought me to his family, and I'm meeting mine during Thanksgiving. We're both very content, and I think if either of us had succumbed to our fears, we wouldn't have found this. He's doing much better now. Man, I love that boy. Well, congratulations then. I'm totally not jealous. Story 4. Me and Matt working at a research lab at our university. We're both fairly quiet people, though she's much more so. I texted her one day to say I thought she was pretty cool and asked if she wanted to hang out. She told me she was moving to Boston 6 days. So I spent the next 3 nights spending time with her before she left. We stayed in contact and things took off. It has been over 2 years since then and we live together now in a small apartment. You'll hear it from everyone, including myself. If you're actively engaging in areas that you have interest in, you'll meet people with similar interests whom you will connect with. Looking for love is fairly hit and miss. Doing things you love doing and finding people who love the same things definitely lets things happen more naturally. And that is why I go to the gym 5 times a week. Story 5. I met her at a club and after a 20-minute conversation, I knew I had to take her on a date. I pretty much was really straightforward and told her she would meet me the next day for a proper date. After handling a few excuses, she agreed and we've been together ever since. My advice, don't let opportunities pass you by. If you see a person you like, then approach and talk to them. If they seem interesting, then ask them on a date right then and there. Worst they can say is no. My girlfriend later confessed that I was the only guy that has ever been so sure about wanting a date with her. I think the internet has proven that the worst they can say is not no. Story 6. Put yourself in social situations. That way, you meet people, and then if you think they're cool, you get to know them a little better through normal social interaction. Then if you decide you like them, ask them out on a date and or for their phone number. Worked for me. I met my now wife through a friend in college and we ended up being at a few of the same parties. She worked at a computer lab on campus. I'd visit with her mutual friend every once in a while. One day while talking to her after knowing her for about 4 months at that point, I asked her for her phone number. She blushed and said to the whole lab, "Wait, did you just ask me for my number?" I smiled and said, "Yeah," while giving one of those, "so what if I did?" shrugs. She gave me her number. We started dating, and we got married eventually. Dang. All right, smooth operator. Story 7. I had 2 bad relationships in a row. Luckily, I was able to easily get out of both quickly. First was 3 months, second was 1 month. Even though they didn't last very long and nothing too traumatic happened, they were still my first relationships, and I was starting college and my first job. So it was stressful to keep it all up to start with. I promised myself to start focusing on work and school more than looking for a boyfriend for the next 2 years, which is when I'm due to graduate. This was 2 years ago, by the way. But about a month or two after I made this promise, rumors started flying around my workplace about me and this cute, funny guy that we liked each other and should totally start dating. Note, a mutual friend started the rumor, hoping that we would get together, but he and I never talked, unless we had to, or the occasional, "Yeah, but this band or food or game is so much cooler or better." We have been together for almost 2 years now, and I already can't imagine being without him for the rest of my life. Because of a weird and unfortunate situation that came up, he now lives with me, and I realized just how good the match is. He and I are both collectors, and all of our collections complete or match the other's collections. Why do I have to read couple stories, man? Story 8. Online. I had a profile that stipulated I didn't want anything serious, which was true. I'd been in a very long relationship and needed to learn how to date again, so a relationship was actually the last thing on my mind. Inbox was flooded with nonsense, but I shuffled through and looked for people I had things in common with. Went on 5 to 6 dates and started getting bored and annoyed with the guys I was meeting, but I figured it was a learning process, so I kept my profile up. This one guy sent me a very straightforward message. After checking his profile, I noticed we had a lot in common, and we began talking. After a few days of talking on the side, he asked me to go on a date with him the following weekend, which was a few days away, so I gave him my phone number, and we talked every night until we met. We've been inseparable since the day we met in person. My advice would be to try the online thing, but understand that some people you meet will be duds. In fact, most will. But the potential for awesome is definitely there, so do not give up. Story 9. If you feel strongly about someone, don't let them get away. I know a lot of people are saying not to force it or let it happen organically, which is true, but at the same time, it's rare to find someone in this world you have a connection with, find attractive, and share similar interests with. I had to work to get my boyfriend to accept he had feelings for me back, and it took a year for me courting him before he had the guts to ask me out. It would have been easier to move on and forget about him, but I'm much happier now after sharing my feelings to him. Never let them get away without letting them know how you feel. Losing a potential mate over the fear of rejection is something you will regret for the rest of your entire life. Listen, boys, this person is speaking facts. Story 10. I met my boyfriend using online dating. So my perspective of online dating is that it's like a snake pile of man jostling for a woman. Any woman. I was on the site for a little under 48 hours and had over 500 different men message me. It's overwhelming. I get it's upsetting to be ignored, but it's also physically impossible to respond to all of these men, so don't take it personally. The majority of the men there made it painfully obvious they were simply messaging every single woman and hoping for a bite. I never replied to those, "Hi, look interesting," clearly copy and pasted with no extra thought or originality type messages. I replied, even if just to say no, to anyone who had clearly read my profile and mentioned something from it, which was only about 5 dudes. I know many people say online dating is a numbers game, but I don't think it is if you're after a genuine relationship. Quality over quantity. Story 11. I was at a New Year's party that I kind of didn't want to go to. When I first saw her, I knew she wasn't objectively the most attractive girl in the room, but she was 10 out of 10 melting my brain. My friends convinced me to go up to talk to her. We drank, talked, and laughed while midnight approached. 15 minutes before midnight, it becomes obvious she wants to kiss. I excused myself to go outside to catch up with my buddy boys. I came back in time, kissed her, and here we are. I told her a few weeks later that she probably smelled some of my mess. She just laughed and wondered why my breath smelled so bad. I was in a dry spell for about 5 years before this relationship. I really feel you have just to put yourself out there somehow, either by going out or trying out online dating. You won't find many opportunities if you don't try. And even if you make attempts, it's freak luck that you run into someone compatible with you and isn't completely crazy. If you find yourself constantly playing games or doing power plays, please stop. It's never going to end. Just drop them and move on. Nobody has time for that. Story 12. I just wrote this in another comment, but relationships should be easy. I'm not saying you don't have to work at them. You do. But at their core, a relationship should be emotionally easy. You can tell when someone clicks with you. It's hard to put into words, but you know. You feel that connection. You smile more, you're happier, you laugh more. All that's happy crap. To find someone, it's a matter of putting yourself out there. Easy as that, and also as challenging as that. You're not going to meet many people who you might date if you spend all your time alone. People often suggest starting new activities like volunteering or whatever, and it's fine advice. It's a specific example of the general theme that you need to just put yourself in new situations. I think a big barrier to dating is that we get so stuck in our normal routines that we kind of go on life autopilot. I find that when I break out of that routine and mix things up, that's when things like finding a significant other or a new group of friends happens. Story 13. You do have to go out and look for people, but don't go out looking for your forever significant other. Don't even go out trying to think of ways to get people to sleep with you. Just try to have a good time and include others in that good time. That way you'll meet many friends, any of whom you might have a crush on, or maybe it's a friend of a friend or sister. Who knows? But as time goes on, two crushes will align naturally. I feel that when people go out looking for what they want, this is why I don't trust the idea of Tinder-style dating. The best case scenario is failing at impressing who they want the way they want, and the worst case scenario is that it works and then you're stuck with someone who you artificially enticed. I have friends who do this, and their girlfriends are the same every time. They even look the same, and each time it's the same thing where after a year, the pretenses drop and then they drag it out for a year even though it's obvious, then break up. You want to be happy in a relationship. Go out and be happy with those around you and let it happen. You may have to initiate it, but let the whole part happen. Also, try not to think too far out in the future. Don't be thinking about whether some girl you see from 12 paces will make a good wife in 25 years. Forever is really just many todays. So start here. Bars, bro. Story 14. Don't be afraid to be weird. Met my significant other online. Shortly after arriving in a new town, I set up a series of dates with people who seemed interesting over the course of a few weeks or so. Can't remember how many dates I actually went on. Most were pretty forgettable. There weren't many second dates, since it was feeling very Groundhog Day. I tell the same stories, even the same jokes. They range from somewhat interesting to rather dull, except for the one who became my significant other. She has a background in parasites and forensics. I'm in the military. It got dark and weird very quickly. It was easy to open up and relax and just have a good time. Best kind of date. Turns out we're super compatible and are in the process of making it official after all this time. Story 15. We met through work. At first, I thought he was either gay or married, until he asked me to coffee and we really hit it off. Furthermore, he didn't play games with my heart. I was open to the idea of a new and long-term relationship, but was afraid of being strung along for something more than a casual fooling around. I remember still being in this mindset when we were in the car one day when he said, "Whatever you want to call us, I'm down for." We've been together more than a year now. Pro tip, definitely be great at conversation because that's what you'll be doing with each other more than anything. Need something to talk about? What's the nerdiest thing about you? Everybody has something that they are really into that they generally don't mind sharing. That is very true. Story 16. I've dated a lot. I've had 6 serious girlfriends, and the final one became a current wife of 4 years. In any encounter, whether spontaneous or planned, a successful approach is always the same. In each instance, when I met a woman for the first time, my goal is to always find a way to let her talk about what makes her feel special. I want her to hear her own voice more often than mine, and every conversational thread leads back to a detail of what you shared with me, and how we can connect to another fascinating element of her life. Yes, fascinating. The effort can't be cynical, nor should it be gushing praise. As she speaks, and as you listen with full attention, a story begins to be told that is all about the timeline of her existence, and you're the narrator weaving the pieces together into something unique. Before too long, she realizes this story, this epic catalog of her, only exists in the shared space between you and then the connection you share. She'll be loath to break that connection, and she'll want to see you again. I assume it works the same way for women pursuing men, albeit a whole lot simpler. I'm taking a lot of notes right now. Story 17. I've been in the worship band in my church for something like 5 or 6 years now. I was taught how to play guitar by the old worship minister at my church. He got a job offer to help start a youth group elsewhere, and left the church in good terms. We were looking for a new worship leader when her dad came and auditioned. Basically, he did music with us one week, and we saw if we liked him or not. I played that weekend, and he was phenomenal. We became friends almost instantly. Well, his family came to church with him that week, which included his gorgeous daughter. We met, talked, and hit it off. Too bad she was dating someone else at the time. Well, a couple weeks go by. We kept talking and stuff, and she apparently had a dream about me. We talked constantly after I got her number. Even hung out with her family once or twice, and eventually talked about her relationship with a schmuck of a now ex-boyfriend. She ends up breaking up with him for me, and because he was emotionally cruel. Within the next couple weeks, we started dating, and her parents were totally cool with it because her dad and I had already been friends before I even met his daughter. Things are going pretty well, and I'm currently saving up for an engagement ring. Story 18. I truly believe if you set out with a goal in mind of getting a significant other, you're doomed from the start. Just wait it out, and eventually you'll find the one when you least expect it. The way I met my girlfriend is she came into town while I was working. She saw me working in the back and thought I was cute, so she wrote me a note with her number on it. After about 2 weeks of texting, we both connected with each other extremely well. We've been for 3 months now, and we already have a very strong and mature relationship. The best advice is to be yourself. If you have to be someone you're not, this girl or guy ain't for you. If you find someone who 100% accepts you for who you are, that's the one for you. Don't ever settle for less. Story 19. Been with my boyfriend for 4+ years now. We met 6+ years ago in a first-year calculus class. He sat next to me, 1 seat away for a week. Took incredibly neat notes. My notes are only indecipherable to pharmacists, secretaries, and myself. Not snuck glances at me. He offered to hand in my assignment for me. We introduced ourselves. Discovered a shared love for House MD. We actually caught you, Lori, live in concert together later. And a shared, dry, sarcastic, twisted sense of humor. His homework and my copying of it significantly helped me get a B in that course. I don't understand calculus, and calculus doesn't understand me. Stayed friends for 2 years, saw each other through breakups and other crap. Then he kissed me. We got together. It's been mostly happily ever after since. Advice: be yourself. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's okay to take chances and fail as long as you dust yourself off and try again with someone else. Have fun while doing it. Dating shouldn't be a chore, and if it's the right person, it never is. Story 20. I met my boyfriend at work. We knew each other for about 8 months before we started dating. We honestly didn't even always get along. There's a 6-year age difference, so on both sides, we initially thought it would never happen. Our hometown got hit with a giant snowstorm last November, and we ended up texting a lot while being snowed in for almost a week. We ended up finding a lot in common and saw different qualities we mutually found attractive in each other. We decided to see what going on a date would be like. A few months later, we made things official, and things have been amazing ever since. The best advice is to be friends with each other before you can even begin a relationship. It's easy to find someone super attractive, have great intimate chemistry, and plan enough activities to keep you busy for a year, 2, or even a lifetime. If you can't see yourself being friends with this person without the relationship attributes, I personally think the bond isn't as strong. There will be days where intimacy can or will not happen. Date night ended up a disaster, or a true issue or a conflict will arrive. Having a friendship as the base of a relationship will always give you an extra reminder as to how important that person is to you and why you have them in your life. Will always give you that extra confidence that 100 miles in a long-distance relationship isn't as far as it seems. It'll give you that drive to solve a conflict before going to bed at night, not going to sleep mad. The list goes on. It's the partnership and friendship component of a relationship that makes your significant other even that more special. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 21. I met my boyfriend at my university. We both play on the Ultimate Frisbee team. My only advice would be to stop thinking of every boy or girl you meet as a potential significant other. That's what I did in high school because I really wanted a boyfriend and would try to create sparks where there was nothing. When you stop viewing people as potential partners and start viewing them as people, you'll end up connecting on a deeper level and finding someone you actually want to be with. And it'll just kind of happen as opposed to being forced. Story 22. I met my boyfriend at the Technology Help Center on my college campus where he worked. He taught me how to better use my laptop. We just got to talking about nerdy stuff and started dating 4 months later. Been going out over 2.5 years, and I could not have found someone more compatible and wonderful as he is. My dad always urged me to date a computer science major. Joke's on me now. I wasn't looking for one, and I fell in love anyway. My advice is to not go actively searching for love. Let it find you. Make yourself open to love, and it will come to you. Keep yourself shut down, and it won't. If you try too hard to find love, you'll get involved with the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Be patient and hopeful. Story 23. It's really weird to think about, but I actually met my girlfriend on Tinder. We got to talking and both had a mutual understanding that it wasn't about a one-time thing. After talking for a couple of weeks, we went to try my new gun at an indoor range. And now we've been together for 6 months, and it's been great. There's no petty problems, no arguments, and we have an amazing amount in common. Still blows my mind, and hers too. Freaking Tinder. My last ex I met at a party. The one before that was my neighbor, and by that I mean she lives 2 miles away, because rural Midwest. The best advice is to not actually look for something serious right off the bat. Then you make things feel forced. Just leave yourself open to any possibility and try to make as many connections as possible. You never know. And Tinder doesn't hurt, apparently. Story 24. I met my girlfriend at a party she was throwing for St. Patrick's Day. I was invited by a mutual friend of ours. I was relatively new to the area and didn't have many friends aside from coworkers. The day came for the party. I didn't talk to my friend all day due to a hectic day at work. I wasn't feeling up to partying, but decided I had to go just to meet some new people. Upon arriving at the party, I was greeted by the hostess, my significant other. She was so heartfelt, sincere, and absolutely stunning. When I walked in the room, it was like time stopped for a moment. My heart skipped a beat, and I knew she was the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. The party was great. I had an absolute blast. A few days later, I sent her a bouquet of purple roses and white lilies for the coming Sabbath. Went on a few dates and have been together ever since. The best part is that we didn't make love until about a month later. I took the time to get to know each other before starting a physical relationship. She's the most beautiful lady in all the land. Intelligent, kind, caring, funny, sincere, and loving. I truly am the luckiest boy in the world to have her in my life. Story 25. I throw 2 really big parties a year, St. Patty's Day and Halloween. I always invite friends to bring friends because when we're adults, how else do we meet new people? In general, there are usually around 15 to 20 people at any given time and maybe 35 over the course of the night. The parties become a sort of tradition with my friends. I met my boyfriend at my St. Patty's party, in my dining room. He was the guest of a guest. Funny thing is, his guest never showed up, so he was kind of a party crasher. Now that I know him, I know that it must have taken a lot of courage to show up at a party where he knew absolutely no one. It was handsome, engaging, and fun. The next day, he sent me a lovely thank you text, brimming with very dorky, over-the-top compliments. I was seeing someone at the time, not seriously, and I reminded him of the fact. The next day at work, I received a package with a dozen purple roses, calla lilies, vase, and chocolate-covered strawberries. Completely over the top, but it certainly got my attention. We met casually, and I really liked him a lot. So I spent the next 3 weeks gently letting the guy I was seeing down. It was a hard process. While I didn't really love him, he was a nice man and deserved kindness. My boyfriend and I didn't have any physical relations. We dated in an old-fashioned sense of the word, and it was fun. Picnics in the park, hikes, zoo trips, that sort of thing. By the time we were free and clear to do the deed, we were already in love. It only got better. Our relationship is fulfilling, romantic, passionate, and amazing a year and a half later. We surprise each other daily and are always kind to one another and have the sort of love that will last forever. He's thoughtful, gentle, kind, loving, understanding, hardworking, and about a billion other great things, as well as sexy as heck. They've lived together for a year with minor conflicts, but never a true fight. Can't believe I didn't even have to leave my house to find the love of my life. We're now the host and hostess of these same parties, and it is a blast. But as for advice, be courageous. Be open to meeting new people and put yourself in social situations to see who's out there. If you see someone you like, jump in with both feet. If you're seeing someone you don't think is forever material, it's okay to keep looking. Just make a clean, honest break so you don't feel guilty or bad. I never, ever imagined I could be this happy or this in love. I'm lucky, but it also only takes an openness and a willingness to invite change. By any chance, are you the girlfriend of the previous story guy? Story 26. We met at college, which is sort of cheating due to the extreme mixing effect, but it's true nonetheless. The main advice I would give is to stop making excuses to do nothing. When she first asked if I wanted to do something, I had an inexplicable desire to say no because that's what I always did. I had no reason to stay at home, but it's very easy and comfortable, so don't be afraid to go to some event or eat some cuisine that you've never had before just because you might not like it or you're worried you'll somehow mess it up. Story 27. We met at a Thanksgiving potluck for a social club at our university. She wasn't a member of the club. Her roommate was. We chatted and I thought she was interesting, but didn't get her phone number for some reason. I think conversations were just going on around us. Found out about 2 weeks later we actually worked together. Then she would pick shifts at the same time at work so we could keep running into each other. My advice would be to just talk to people and be friendly. Don't try to force some expectation of any meeting or event. An expectation like, oh my god, I have to get her phone number or have to try and kiss her. Just be friendly. If people like you, they will try to engage you more. My immune power is knowledge and humor. I know a girl likes me when she gives me a look and some compliment like, wow, you're really smart, aren't you? Story 28. How to meet them. I'm assuming you're male. If you're a woman, I can't help much. First, make sure your ducks are in a row. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't handle a relationship. I really mean this. This means having a stable job, work out daily, have proper nutrition, take an hour to learn something new a day, and also take at least an hour to just relax. Altruism. Make time for it. I met my current girlfriend of 3 years at a walk to help with dog cancer. Volunteer at a local hospital animal shelter. Do it because you want to help, not because you want to meet girls and you'll be surprised how much attention you get. Stoicism. Practice it in every daily trial and anything that gives you grief. Just follow these steps and you'll do fine. One last bit of advice. Don't focus on being a nice guy. That means you could become the mean guy. Instead, focus on being a good guy. There's some other stuff that's important, like self-respect, always value yourself. Don't let a girl, or for that matter, anyone else, take advantage of you. Think firm but warm and approachable. Stick to these points if you would like to try it. Always works great for me in relationships with people. Story 29. I'm seeing a sister of a friend, so we don't really have a nice how we met story. I just started talking to her online a little. We hung out a few times, then after a while we liked each other. I've made sure the friend was okay with what was going on. My advice? Don't let your anxiety stop you from being close with someone. I had an insanely messy relationship and broke up a few years ago. After that, anything about relationships made me anxious. But being intimate was the worst source of anxiety. Anytime I got close with someone, I would almost always distance myself to a point where we basically never spoke anymore. I was too afraid to tell people, look, I really like you, but I'm afraid to commit to you and I'm going to have a hard time being intimate. I figured if I told them this, they would just end things anyway because it was too difficult. I gave this girl a chance. I've told her most of the things that affect me and she didn't just walk away from it. She's been understanding, caring, and supportive. It was a huge eye-opener that most people don't see your anxiety or other similar conditions as much of a deal breaker as you do. If they like you, they will most likely be willing to look over and help you get over anything you're being affected by. They will try and make you a better person, but not push you to overcome things faster than you feel you can. I'm still not in the best place I could be, but gosh darn, am I so much happier than I was a couple months ago. Story 30. We met in high school. I had her for 5 classes in a row, so we got to know each other rather well. We had a long-distance relationship for 4 years, and now I'm back home with her. I would like to tell people that relationships are hard. Mine was especially so because of the long distance, but in general, people don't seem to realize that you're going to have arguments and disagreements with this person that you may find infuriating. They can drive you crazy, in a bad way just as much as a good way. People need to understand that having a significant other isn't just all fun and games. You have to be compassionate, understanding, and loving, even when you feel that it is hard to be. You have to learn patience and how to argue fairly with someone and to pick and choose your battles. I absolutely adore my girlfriend, and we're a stronger couple because of our disagreements in the past. Try and look at a relationship as a chance to grow as a person, instead of as something that you need in order to feel like a complete person. Story 31. I have known my girlfriend since first grade. Our relationship being anywhere from best of friends to that person I used to talk to but don't anymore, and I don't know why. And we started dating during the last semester of my senior year. We're almost hitting 2 years right now, and things are going really well. My advice would be to see someone for who they are, not what you hope for them to be. The reason why most relationships fail quickly, in my experience, is because we rarely fall for the person. We fall for the idea of that person. This causes us to ignore their flaws up until the point where we can no longer ignore them, and then heartbreak ensues. If you like someone but can't stand a certain trait they have, don't expect them to change. They probably won't. It helped, knowing my girlfriend for so long before dating her. We've seen each other at our worst and best, and we knew that we were getting into it from the very beginning. No ideals involved. Disagreements that would have started a heated argument with other people can be settled between us with, at worst, a full house style discussion about our feelings and what we can do to both be happy. I truly believe I hit the jackpot with this relationship, and I hope that all you single Redditors out there reading this get the chance to experience something similar. Imagine being called a single Redditor. Man. Story 32. Tinder. We chatted a little bit, then met up for a beer. It was a great date, so we kept seeing each other and we formed a relationship. We didn't do the normal Tinder one-time thing. We were both looking for a relationship. Advice? Dunno, man. I was single for 26 years of my life and tried all sorts of things. Nothing worked except staying true to myself, not settling for someone, and being open and honest with people I went on dates with. I went through a fair number of dates the last 3 years, and I always could tell pretty quickly whether or not I was interested in the second date. The longest I saw someone was 4 dates before I told them I was not feeling it. Don't play games. Don't be someone you're not, and be patient. Story 33. You often hear two lines of advice that sound like they compete with each other. Just be yourself and put your best foot forward. They both sound like reasonable advice, but they can conflict when putting yourself out there can take you out of your comfort zone. And it's difficult to feel like yourself. The trick is that it requires a balance of the two. Being socially engaging enough to connect with someone may be difficult for some, but it's effort that needs to be made. But once you made that connection, understand that there are many positive values to your character that would make you worth befriending or dating. If you're having difficulty in finding those positive traits, either consult with friends you can trust or consider what kind of person you want to be, and put effort towards that goal. My relationship started as a result of both of these philosophies. And now a girlfriend, a very shy girl at the time, took the courage to ask me out, and she did so because she saw that I was genuine, kind, and casual about talking to her. Story 34. I met my boyfriend because we were living on the same floor during my freshman year in college. The way he tells it, he was sort of into me from the beginning of the year, but this other guy that I liked had apparently claimed me. So he kept his distance because he didn't want to be a schmuck. Eventually, I sort of realized I didn't really like that guy. He failed out after winter anyways. During spring semester, my current significant other caught my eye. We flirted a bit. Then, one night, he stayed in my room and things got a bit steamy. Apparently, he originally intended that to be a sort of one-night thing, but I didn't get the memo. So I spent a couple days awkwardly skirting around the topic of our relationship, and I guess he thought it was cute because now it's been 2 years and we're living together. Advice-wise, don't force it. I spent a year trying to foster relationships with people that I just didn't like that much. It wasn't until I gave up and let myself be alone for a bit that my significant other swooped in. That doesn't mean don't actively look, just don't draw things out when they don't need to be. Also, remember that your happiness should not be reliant on having a significant other. If you need a significant other in order to feel happy and complete, you're going to drive people away. Being happy with yourself is the first step toward being happy with others. Story 35. I think I've posted this before. I met him in kindergarten. I remembered his beautiful golden brown hair. Back then, I used to steal his food so I could get his attention and plucked his hair. It kind of worked. I called him Christopher Robin from Winnie the Pooh because he looked like the character. But I left my hometown. We did not keep any contact. I would think of him once in a while, but I don't think I had any strong feelings then. During high school, I moved back, and once on an outing, I met him by chance. I immediately said, "Christopher Robin?" And he remembered me too. We chatted a bit, but that was all. I also had an old DeviantArt account and posted my old artwork there. He added me as a friend on DeviantArt, and we chatted on MSN about art and other silly stuff. I grew to have a big crush on him, but I did not dare to admit it. But one day, while we were walking my dog, he told me he liked me a lot. Then we started dating, and the rest is history. We've been together 8 years now, and I still love him and his golden brown hair. My advice, look for someone you can spend your time with. I've been with him for 8 years now, and I still love to be by his side. We talk about anything, stupid crap or serious discussions, or we can comfortably just sit next to each other silently and enjoy the moment. He's really my best friend. Story 36. We met in college through both being involved in various musical or choral activities and circles of friends on campus. We didn't get together until after we graduated, though. While she was overseas during the Peace Corps and I was in the US doing internships and crappy jobs while trying to fumble my way towards a real career I was interested in. Somehow we just started talking a lot more than we had when we'd known each other at school. We'd spend long nights just talking to each other on GChat or Skyping when the timing allowed, when we didn't have anything else to do or anyone else to connect with. And it led to this sort of intimacy that I don't think would have developed if either of us had been in different circumstances. When she came home at the end of her service, we both just kind of knew without having to say it that we wanted to be together. So we moved down to where she lived, fumbled around a bit more before finally finding a semi-decent career opportunity, and we've been going strong ever since. Generally, all my relationships have developed through meeting partners via shared activities we were into. To me, that's the most natural way to get to know people. You both already know you have something in common, so there's less chance you'll find the other person a completely inscrutable weirdo. And it's not as likely to feel forced as trying to randomly meet people at a bar or even just having your friend say, "I think this random person I know would be great for you." Story 37. A story I love to tell. I met him at school. I'd seen him a few times in an open lab before, though he was kind of cute, but that was it. I'd just broken things off with a guy I'd been seeing for a few weeks, so that wasn't about meeting anyone. I just wanted to focus on school and doing me. Anyways, I went to an open lab, and one of my good friends was very open about how I was helping him remember stuff and encouraged other people to ask me questions if they needed anything. Two girls came up to me. One asked about something that I can't remember to save my life, and the other girl asked about a mandibular fossa. I answered, the mandibular fossa doesn't exist. Massive brain fart. So my guy comes up and corrects me in front of everyone. Easily, about 25 people, and I was mortified. I thought he was the biggest schmuck, but then he invited my friends to go study, and I didn't want to look like a witch, so I went ahead and went. When we were studying, we actually got to talk, and I realized I liked his personality. And my God, was this man smart. He knew what he was talking about. Smart men are my kryptonite. I went ahead and invited him to study with us again, and he showed up. After that, we were inseparable. He's my best friend. I can be myself when I'm with him and not be afraid of being judged. It makes me feel like I'm the most important person in the room, and I hope I make him feel the same way. I can't get enough of him. When we go more than 2 days without seeing each other, I miss him so much. He's such an amazing part of my life. He's a gift I don't deserve, but I'm doing everything I can to make him as happy as he makes me. My advice, don't go looking for love. I've heard the saying that love and farts should come naturally, and if you force it, it'll end up being crap. People who have girlfriends. How? I met a girl at a bar and got her number, but I lost it on the 5-minute walk home. I searched for her on Facebook by her first name and thought I had found her. The next day, she accepted my friend request. I started things off with, hey, you were at the show at bar, right? She said, no. And I profusely apologized for interrupting her day and stated that I would leave her alone. She told me, no, let's keep talking. That was almost 2 years ago. I love her deeply and her family's fantastic. That's the best mistake I've ever made. Story 2. Don't think of her as a girlfriend. Instead, think of women in general as a friend or someone to enjoy little funny moments with. Think about everything other than intimacy until it is available. Make your thoughts revolve around who you are and who she is. The fundamental part of any relationship is the core. Trust, empathy, love, and compassion. If you only want one thing from someone, chances are they will see right through you the minute you start talking. Most people aren't stupid. Most women are especially good at realizing when something is off about a person. So, as the old proverb says, be yourself and love yourself. Love others. Story 3. I was recently dumped after a long-term relationship, but I got with her literally just by being myself, as cheesy as that sounds. Before, I would try to be as interesting as I could be. I tried to make my interests line up with theirs, just doing disingenuous things that I now realize people can see right through. Take pride in your appearance and just be who you truly are. Every girl won't find you attractive, but some will. When you notice a girl is giving you attention, like with glances, compliments, or going out of her way to start conversations, just ask to hang out or go on a date. My ex had said she was waiting for a couple of months for me to ask her out, but I was too scared to take the leap and just ask her to hang out. I finally did one day, and we were together for over a year. Be ready for heartbreak. At times, I wonder if I would have been better off not asking her to hang out, but I know that's just my momentary sadness talking. Good luck. Story 4. If you're looking for a second mommy, you're not going anywhere. Here's some tips. Smell nice, keep your space clean, be kind. Don't expect immediate reciprocity when you're nice. Value yourself and your time, be willing to be vulnerable. Learn to communicate. Know how to set healthy expectations. Generally, the rule of thumb is don't be a schmuck. You don't need to be perfect, but putting in the effort makes a world of difference. Reciprocity might have been a strong word for a vague statement, and I have to agree. In its essence, the point I was trying to make is don't expect someone to immediately fall deeply in love or be ready to move a relationship to another stage for doing the bare minimum. Story 5. I called her and asked if she wanted to go swimming. She did. That was 2 years ago. Also, listen to people. Respect them and give them space. Actually listen. Let their words in and stop blocking everybody and everything out. It took me a long time to realize how much I had not listened to people and how much I was just kind of surviving or lying my way through everything by acting like I heard people instead of actually respecting and listening to them. Since I learned that, men seem to think I'm not manly anymore, but women seem to enjoy my company much more. I enjoy my own company much more these days, so I think it was the right kind of change to make. Story 6. I'm not sure. I thought she was a friend, and then she took me aside on the way to a nice dinner and nervously told me she thought she liked me. She was so very brave. After a couple of hours of thinking about it, I decided I should at least give it a chance to reward her courage. Never imagined I'd go out with another woman, so her being interested in me had never even crossed my mind. I don't know how the story ends, but it's been 3 or 4 years and lockdown has prevented us from meeting again since then, but we spent a lot of time talking and texting online and are only getting more committed with each passing year. The day we finally meet again will either be wild or an absolute catastrophe. Story 7. Be friends for 8 years and like her the whole time, but think she's way too good for someone like you. Find out she's been hanging out with an acquaintance that you know to be a real creep, so you send her a super long text explaining you've been into her for years and then you want her to know how you felt all this time before she ends up with this dude. Turn off phone for 2 days because scared to see the reply.
Find out she's been into you this whole time but didn't realize it was mutual. Been together almost 3 years now and love every minute of it. Story 8. Here's how I found a wife. The first thing you have to do is ditch the idea that girls are some mysterious, inscrutable force. The second is to ditch the idea that there's something you can do that will summon a girlfriend or make a girl like you. You're not a bird of paradise. Your plumage and mating dance can be perfectly arranged and still leave you single. You don't want to make a girl like you anyway. That's exhausting and doomed to failure. So when you put that together, you have no steps to take and just regular people to be with, so hang around with one of these regular people. Be people together. Then maybe one of those people, you'll both want to be people together more often. Maybe one day you'll want to be people together forever. Maybe not. Or maybe only one of you wants to keep being people together. It happens. If it does, you end it and go hang out with another person until you find one that's a good fit for you and you for her. When I met my wife, I didn't do anything fancy. I was so tired of dating that I decided to be entirely myself. In fact, I floated out nerdy things I loved, just a bit to give her the opportunity to save us both some time. Instead, now my nerdy things have become our nerdy things, and so have hers. But there's nothing I did that I could tell you to do because I just hung out with her. I was kind, interested, really because she was interesting and genuine. Instead of trying to do the right things to catch her, I just did the things that would make me an enjoyable person to be around. And now when I finish using the restroom, I'm going to snuggle with a person who fell in love not with my mating dance, but with who I am. Also my plumage. That's how to find one. Next time, how to keep one by always fighting fair, listening, and being the best person you can be. Story 9. What do you bring to the table? The girl in the bookstore you've been daydreaming about moisturizes her face for an hour every night and feels guilty when she eats anything other than salad for lunch. She's going to be a surgeon in 10 years. What do you do? What, are you saying that I can't get girls like that unless I have a nice job and make lots of money? No, your brain jumps to that conclusion, so you have an excuse to write off everyone who rejects you by assuming they're just being shallow and selfish. I'm asking what you offer. Are you smart, funny, interesting, talented, ambitious, creative? What do you do to demonstrate those attributes to the world? Don't say you're a nice guy. That's the bare minimum. Pretty girls have guys being nice to them 36 times a day. Well, I'm not sexist or racist or greedy or shallow or cruel. Not like those other schmucks. I'm sorry, I know this is hard to hear, but if all you can do is list a bunch of faults you don't have, then back away. There's a witty, handsome guy with a promising career ready to step up. Does that break your heart? Okay, so now what? Are you going to mope about it, or are you going to do something about it? It's up to you. But don't complain about how girls fall for schmucks. They fall for those schmucks because those schmucks have other things they can offer. But I'm a great listener. Are you? Are you just willing to sit quietly in exchange for the chance to be in the proximity of a pretty girl? Will you spend every second imagining how soft her skin must be? Well, guess what? There's another guy in her life who also knows how to do that, and he can play the guitar. Saying that you're a nice guy is like a restaurant whose only selling point is that the food doesn't make you sick. Like a new movie whose title is The Movie is in English, and its tagline is The Actors Are Clearly Visible. So what, you're saying that I should pick up a book on how to get girls? Only if step 1 of the book is start making yourself into the type of person girls want to be around. Story 10. Okay, I'm going to actually answer this. Stop trying to get a girlfriend. Instead, work on expanding your social circle. Take part in activities, join a club or group, or volunteer for a good cause. Do things that involve interacting with other people. Nobody wants to satisfy your desire to get a girlfriend, but I can guarantee you that there are women out there who will enjoy your company because there are people out there who will enjoy your company. Just make friends. Eventually, among that group of friends, you're going to find a female friend you really like spending time with, and she's going to feel that way about you too. Maybe with that girl, or maybe with another one later on. Friendship will grow into something more. You're never going to get a girlfriend. Instead, 2 people are going to discover that they really dislike spending much time apart. They're going to want more than just friendship, and you're going to be one of those people. That's how you get a girlfriend. Story 11. Find a hobby group with women and get in touch saying you're looking for a social group and possibly something more. Don't get offended if you ask someone out and they say no. Make sure you agree enough on religion and politics to make the relationship sustainable. Essentially, it's work. You work to make yourself worth being with, and they do the same. Don't be sexist. No one owes you intimacy and you don't deserve a girlfriend just for existing. Despite all this, there are probably a ton of people out there who would love to have your love and support. A scientific study recently demonstrated that people aren't really that picky about relationships and tend to push them forward even if they're unhealthy. So I guess keep this in mind as well. If your partner tries to end a part of your life, your relationship isn't compatible. Story 12. Honestly, just be yourself. That doesn't mean you should change yourself into someone a girl will like. Be honest about who you are with yourself and whoever you're interested in, including your hobbies and things you do for fun, but also be measured, interested, and patient. Nobody owes you anything, especially not a woman. Don't waste your time with people who aren't interested in you. There will always be someone who is interested in you, even if it's subtle. Learn to recognize it. Don't make having a girlfriend the most important thing. It isn't. Just live and have fun and do what you love, and love will come. Story 13. Look here, dude.
I'm fat and ugly, but I've done really well for myself when it comes to my love life, and now I'm happily married to an awesome wife. It's honestly really simple. Don't be a weirdo. Ever. Don't ever make it awkward for any woman who chooses to talk to you. Don't immediately think about how you're going to get lucky. Instead, treat any woman just like you would when you meet some other guy. Just talk about normal stuff, make jokes, and have normal conversations about anything, just like you would with guy friends. It's okay to have female friends, and it's okay not to think of them as someone you're only trying to get lucky with. You can make lifelong friends with women without having to cross any lines. Your female friends will introduce you to their other friends and so on. Eventually, without you even trying that hard, people will like you for your personality, even if you're an ugly, goofy dork like I was. It may be a long game, but you'll get there, and your life will be better for it. Story 14. Number 1, ask a girl out. Number 2, arrange something fun. Number 3, ask her out again. Number 4, arrange something fun. Number 5, don't mention anyone being anyone's girlfriend. Number 6, repeat steps 1 to 4. Number 7, continue to repeat steps 1 to 4 until she brings up being your girlfriend. Number 8, either say, let's see how things go, or accept, depending on how high her interest seems. In a nutshell, single girls have plenty of options. There will be multiple interested guys, so your only job is to be the best option. If you try to box her in before she's made up her mind about you, she'll turn and run a mile. You guys can see a girl, have a conversation with her, and decide she's girlfriend material really quickly. It's more nuanced for girls, and they've all had bad experiences in the past with the guys who seemed nice and then turned weird and obsessive. Your only job is to be the best choice and wait for her to make the choice on her own terms. Look as good as possible. Be in good shape. Have all your interesting stories ready, arrange genuinely fun dates, and never discuss anything past a day. If you've ever dated a girl you're not that interested in, you'll know how hard it is to get rid of them. That's because you're not chasing them, so they'll perceive you as a catch and start chasing you. I'm not suggesting you play games or not be genuine. I'm suggesting you respectfully give her time and space to decide to be your girlfriend. Story 15. I'm a girl, and here's a tip. If you're a guy and you can't be friends with a girl without putting her in the girlfriend zone, then you need to work on yourself. No girl wants anything to do with a guy who only gets close to girls to find a relationship and stops treating them like a friend once they get a boyfriend. Girls will see right through this, and frankly, it makes you a terrible person. No girl wants someone like that in her life because if this is how you treat girls, then you will never know how to treat your girlfriend as a human being. I would only date guys who have female friends they platonically respect. Story 16. Classic Reddit. Just to use 5 dating apps. Girls are people. Talk to girls at bars. Girls are people, etc. Girls used to be people. Used to be able to walk up, say hi, and spark a conversation. Bars used to be a great place for that, where people were open to it. Dating apps used to be similar. Bars can still be alright, but they're still worse than they used to be. I've just noticed a sweeping attitude among girls over the last few years. If you're not in the top 20 to 30% of guys, matches go down to a very low percentage, sometimes below 1%. Those that do match with you are way below your standards and may have a criminal history, no career, or kids, or are very unethical people. You match with someone and say something funny, and you have to carry the entire conversation or you'll be unmatched. Didn't get your introduction joke? Unmatched. No joke? Just a sincere opening? Well, I guess you're a boring and square, worthless person. Unmatched. Be prepared for one-word answers and boring responses if you make it past that, at least for the first 20 messages. She's talking to 5 other guys in a similar fashion and doesn't have time to ask you about your favorite hobbies. That's your job. Do it or be unmatched. Does she love dogs more than anything? Does she work at a dog shelter, have pictures with dogs and a bio about them? She might notice your picture with a dog and say one leading conversation point about it. All her answers will wind back down to the dog theme. You're just the dog guy though, and that's boring. Why does he only talk about dogs? She'll say. Unmatched. I can't count the amount of conversations I've had to go like this. Her. Happy Thanksgiving. Me. Happy Thanksgiving. What are you doing for the holiday? Her. Nothing. My family passed away last weekend. Somebody passes away every Thanksgiving. I got fired today because my family passed away and the doctor said I have cancer. So on. These conversations used to go great when dating apps first came out, but every girl I've talked to in the past 6 years, and one has been just like this. The only guys I've seen date any girls were fine just putting up with this and getting into honestly toxic relationships where they're mentally or physically mistreated. Almost every moderately normal girl I've known from growing up gets into a relationship in high school, does some sort of dating dance in college to meet their next boyfriend, and then gets married immediately after college. There's no real gap where they're officially single. I know plenty of normal single guys, but almost no normal single women. They seem to get picked up from way more age ranges right out of college, unlike guys. So that's my take on this question everyone is complaining about. Hooray, hooray, classic Reddit, women are bad. Well, yeah, kind of. They've gotten a lot more entitled and toxic, probably from amount of praise and people catering to them on dating apps. That's what the question was, and this is the answer. This isn't a place to explain equality or why guys are bad, because that wasn't the question. I guess today you learned something about reading the question and its related answer. Story 17. Put a small amount of effort into your hygiene and appearance. Shower daily, brush your teeth twice a day, and wear deodorant. Shave or neatly trim your facial hair weekly. Keep your room or apartment clean. It doesn't have to be spotless, but it should be at least orderly. Wear decent, clean clothes that fit. Even if you're on the heavier side, that's fine, but your ratty anime t-shirt and mustard-stained cargo shorts are driving women away. Remember, women are people, just like you. You need to separate her from the idea of her that you've built up in your head. She has interests, goals, and a personality. Try to take an interest in them. Ask about herself and listen. Don't see her as a potential girlfriend right away. See her as a potential friend and then see if things go further. Girls can tell if you're only interested in them for a romantic reason, and they don't like that because they're not dolls. They're people. Forget anything and everything you've ever seen in an adult content video. Learn how to respectfully take your shot and handle rejection. Don't just go for the kiss or assume a friendly meetup is a date. If you ask her to go for coffee or grab a drink and you mean it as a date, let her know that's what you mean. If she doesn't say yes, then the answer is no. Anything that is not yes and not no is her politely trying to say no. If she doesn't say yes, don't go into a pity party or get mad at her. Let her know you still value her as a friend, respect her choice, and still want to be just friends. Those 3 things will go a long way. Story 18. Honestly, this is going to sound cold as hell, but it's a matter of being someone they want. People are not going to buy something they don't want or don't feel like they need. You have to figure out what that is and be willing to be that. Sometimes that means changing the way you look, act, or what you're into. Sometimes that means being someone who can listen, sympathize, and be there for them. Then you have to make sure you're not giving them milk away for free. Once you know what they want, you have to start reeling in the line. Bring the line in. Take whatever it is and make them come to you for it. Then ask them to stay. At the end of the day, it's going to be up to them to decide whether to buy what you're selling. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. Don't be afraid of rejection. If it comes, you'll cross that bridge when you get to it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 19. Good evening. There are a lot of joke comments that lack detail here, and this will likely be buried, but I will answer to the best of my ability. To be attractive to potential partners and build a happy, successful relationship, you need to be happy and successful on your own. You can't build an image of your life where the only time you're going to be happy is if you have a girlfriend, because that attitude and corresponding desperation will make you unattractive. You need to work on yourself first. By this, I mean you need to maintain a level of physical fitness and eat well. When push comes to shove, physical attraction is almost always the first step towards a relationship. That's why people have pictures and dating profiles, and it's what will get you in the door in a public setting. If you don't already go to a gym, you can start now. Subscribe to r/fitness, read the wiki, and read about eating well. Take baby steps. Working on yourself is a long process. This will not happen overnight. Forget about women for now. Focus on yourself and partners will come to you. The time scale is months or years, not days and weeks. Forget about getting a girlfriend for now. You need to have interests and be interesting. If all you do right now is play video games, think about something else you might enjoy. Start biking and join a biking club. Start hiking or start running. Go to fitness classes, but don't be a creep. Go to book clubs. This is how you meet people organically. Do not go with the expectation of meeting a woman. Go to improve yourself and then roll with the punches. Set some attainable short-term and long-term goals for yourself. Start walking a kilometer every day and reading a book every month. As your fitness and interests brought in, your self-confidence will get stronger, and a year from now, you won't recognize yourself. You'll be happy alone and with yourself. That is when you will get a girlfriend. You need to embrace failure in every aspect of your life. Do not avoid challenges because you think that you might not be successful. Push yourself. Confidence does not come from knowing that you will succeed. Confidence comes from knowing that if you fail, you'll be okay. This applies to talking to women, making career changes, trying new fitness, taking courses, going to university, applying to the special forces, trying to be a pilot, etc. This also applies to friend zone, which I've seen in your other posts. Listen, if you don't want to be friends with a girl, don't hang around her hoping for your turn to date her. It rarely works out. I was there when I was 16. It sucks. You need to move the heck on. She doesn't like you, probably because you're not following the advice above, but that is okay. You're strong and happy on your own. Keep lifting weights, keep eating well, keep doing the things you enjoy, and keep enjoying life. And you'll succeed romantically. Story 20. Step 1. Want a girlfriend, not just intimacy with a girl. When you do this, you'll see your priorities shift in who you talk to, who you spend time with, and what you value in life. Both girls and guys want a relationship, but the reality is that it's about finding someone who fits your personality, interests, and life. Not just intimately, although that's a big part of it. I met my current girlfriend through mutual friends, but dating apps can also help you get there. Don't overlook someone just because of physical attraction. You should definitely think they look good and healthy, but the personality and spirit of a woman are what will keep you coming back to her, not the intimacy. Story 21. Before I met my now wife, I was told firmly by a mutual friend that I could, under no circumstances, try anything with her. She had just gotten out of a bad relationship and didn't need any new nonsense. Then I met her. I tried to respect that wish, so instead of trying to make a move, I simply did what I could to be there for her. doing things that I suspected she would like, and just getting to know her as well as possible. I was open about myself and honest and didn't try to score with her or anything. It didn't take long before it became very clear that my interest in her was reciprocated. Ever since, I've been doing what I can do to, as cheesy as it sounds, become a better person. And I honestly think that's the only way forward. People always say that if someone loves you, they will take you as you are. That's true. But life isn't static, and an adult has no legitimate excuse not to try and better themselves as a person. This includes showing humility to the other person after a fight, which is entirely inevitable, not insisting on being right, among many other things. The most important thing, I believe, is staying true to yourself. Do not present a false facade. Let them know who you are. They will find out sooner or later, and a relationship built on a false front is fair to no one and unlikely to last. In all honesty, I'd say my wife is a blessing sent from God, and I don't deserve her in the least. Story 22. I made a sad vent post on some social media. She saw it and decided to reach out because I had left nice comments on her fan art. It turned out we lived in the same city, so we decided to meet up. Talking to her felt so comfortable, so we just hung out as much as we could. She became my best friend. About a month later, I confessed to her that I had a crush on her, and she said she liked me back. There never really was a dating phase. It was more like we speed ran from strangers to friends to best friends to girlfriends. We've been together for about 6 years now. I just proposed to her this week, and she said yes. Story 23. It's a simple concept. Talk to them like people and do not feel entitled to intimacy from them. Accept rejection and move on if they are not interested. Don't pester, be creepy, or stalk them. Don't send non-consensual pics. Try to carry on a conversation that is more than just, hey, or you're so hot. Compliment things they can control, such as their haircut, color, style, their clothes, shoes, makeup, and jewelry. This is all general advice, but it's important to remember that many people approach potential dates as an object rather than a person. Change up your approach. I'm not a popular, good-looking, or thin person, and I have dated people I've never thought would be interested in me, but just by hanging out and treating them like the people they are, not as an object to collect or win. I know this will get downvoted, but this is an important thing to learn when you're young, and I don't think a lot of current society teaches this, especially to boys. Story 24. Treat them like the normal human beings that they are instead of longing for them like they're a piece of meat and you're a hungry tiger. Don't try to be chivalrous. They see that for the manipulation that it is. Don't be a complete schmuck either. They also see that as manipulation. Instead, talk to them like you would your guy friends. Find things to laugh about with them. Occasionally throw in an arrogant comment, but laugh about it to show you're not a complete narcissist. Maybe throw in a second or two of extra eye contact now and again. Be fun. Tease them a little. Pick on them, but with tasteful jabs, not brutal roasts. Show a tiny bit of superiority because no girl wants to date a complete coward that kisses their butt. Having kids, a boy and a girl, has taught me that boys and girls aren't that different. Girls are just as gross as guys. Farting, picking their noses, etc., and they have a lot of the same interests as boys. Find things you have in common and talk about those things. Find an activity you would both like to do and see if they want to do it. Not because you want to have intimacy with them, but because it seems like it would be fun. That goes back to my comment about treating them like they are humans, rather than a conquest. Story 25. Be confident. Without confidence or courage, you can't ever ask a girl out. While a woman can take the first step, if you always wait for someone else, you can wait a long time. Believe in yourself. Good things can happen to you. If you think a girl is flirting with you, it's certainly possible she is. Don't convince yourself that you're imagining it or that it can't be possible. A good tip is to avoid thinking for someone else. Don't assume what they might be thinking because you'll only stress yourself out. Set realistic goals for yourself. Don't think romance is like the movies or a fairy tale. It requires work, effort, time, and especially communication. Maintain basic hygiene. I'm not going to tell you how you should look or that you should change, but showering, shaving, and using deodorant should be standard. Don't go chasing someone you know you can't get, but don't be afraid to try. Sometimes there's no other way than just plainly asking them if they want to get coffee, go on a walk, or do something fun. If you don't try, the answer will always be no. Have fun and relax a bit. There's no need to feel tense. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. Heartbreak is a part of the process of love, but the most important thing is to not give up. Try to be spontaneous. Everyone likes affection and to be shown interest. If they take it for granted by not responding to your texts or dodging dates, you aren't worth your time. But if you find someone willing to put in as much effort as you, that's a good thing. Story 26. I can't tell if this question is serious, but if it is, there are plenty of dating apps out there. The benefit of dating apps is that you know every woman on them wants to be chatted with. They may not want to be chatted with by you in particular, but you can at least be certain they want to be. Also, if you're worried about talking to women, then your attitude is wrong. Don't talk to women, talk to people. What I mean by that is to talk to them the same way you'd talk to one of your friends. Talk about what interests you, have some banter, and try to make them laugh. Don't turn the conversation toward intimacy unless they do. Don't say creepy things and don't send pictures of your private parts. Don't talk down to them and don't put them on a pedestal either. They are your equals, so treat them as such. Just talk to people and try to find common ground. Story 27. Talk to a girl like she's just another human being. Shocking, I know. Don't hit on her immediately or even compliment her. Don't talk to her like she's a girl, just act like you're talking to another guy. This helps to establish you as chill, and girls like that. Start small. You don't have to begin with an hour-long deep conversation, just greet her and make a few short comments about something random. Bonus points if you're mildly funny, just don't go overboard with the comedy. Again, do this exactly the same way you would if you were talking to another man. Build familiarity by putting yourself in situations where you start running into her on a regular basis, but not in a stalker-like way. Ideally, you're trying to talk to a girl in the first place because you already see her regularly, for example, at school, at the gym, or at work. Keep conversations short and let her do most of the talking. Do not go off talking about yourself. You should only speak for about 10% of these short conversations. Eventually, ask if she wants to hang out. Do not make it seem like it's a date, and certainly don't call it one. This is easier if you have mutual friends you can all hang out with in a group, but even on one-on-one, it's still possible. Be casual and mention going to some cool place like a museum or maybe dinner. Again, do this exactly the same way you would if you were asking a male friend to hang out. Repeat the process from step 3 a few times. At this point, she'll already know that you're into her and that what you've been doing is dating, though not officially. She's just going along with it. By the 3rd or 4th hangout, if she hasn't already made a move on you, you should tell her that you're attracted to her and ask if she'd like to start dating, etc. Be casual about this, and do not make it some overblown declaration of love. You have to present yourself as someone who won't freak out or cause a scene regardless of her response. Basically, make sure she doesn't feel pressured either way. This is the point where you'll know if you've been successful or not. If she's into you, she'll respond and you'll start officially dating. If not, you've at least gained a buddy and you can move on to repeating the entire process with someone else. Story 28. I met her at karaoke. Intoxicatedly, I got her number. I forgot to call. I met her again at karaoke. Intoxicatedly, I got her number. I forgot to call. I met her again at karaoke. Intoxicatedly, I asked for her number. She said, "Hand me your phone." She scrolled to her number, which was already in my phone, and said, "This is the last time." On the way to a friend's house after the bar closed, I thought, shoot, I've got to get with this girl. I'd better text her something smooth. My friends told me not to wait a couple of days, but I knew if I did, I would forget again. The moment was now, so I texted, "I got you." She immediately replied, "I don't know what it means, but I like it." We've been together for 5 years now. Story 29. I met her on a terrible app called Whisper. When we started talking, she was very depressed. We began talking about it, and I wanted to help her. Knowing how she felt and what she was going through, I talked to her about the situation, helped her see the logic, and made her believe that destroying her life wouldn't do any good. She needed to live because she deserved a much happier and better life. Our talks went on like that. We started discussing different things like movies, food, and songs. She likes horror movies and stories, but is just too scared to watch those movies alone. So, 5 days after we started talking, we listened to an episode of Chilling Tales for Dark Nights. Afterward, we moved to a different app, leaving that dreadful one behind. I continuously talked with her about her mental health, and I genuinely wanted to make her feel better and get her out of that depression. After we'd been talking for 25 days, she proposed to me, and we've been in a relationship ever since. I'll be 1 year this coming January 28th. Story 30. I told my crush I liked her, and it turned out she had a crush on me, too. We were together for 2 years and then broke up. A year passed, and again, I told my crush at the time that I liked her. Coincidentally, she had a crush on me as well. We were together for 1 year and then broke up. In the present, a girl came up to me and confessed her love for me. She had a crush on me from the first time she met me and had held in her feelings for 4 to 5 years. My foolish self rejected her because I had promised myself not to have another girlfriend for some time, and also because I didn't think I would be able to keep the relationship. Now I have so much free time that I procrastinate all day. P.S. I didn't exactly break up with the first 2 girls. I was the one who always started the conversation, so I decided that I would wait, but before I knew it, they already had new boyfriends. Story 31. I met a girl on a dating app and almost didn't message her because I thought, wow, she's way too beautiful for me. I suppose I have healthy self-esteem, but she seemed too good to be true. I messaged her anyway because I figured the worst she could do was not reply. But she did, and we've been together for 4 years now and hope to get married soon. Never underestimate yourself and always take a chance. It's better than having regrets over never making a move. However, if you do make a move and get shot down, don't let it be the end of your world. Don't sulk and blame others. Just move on until you find the one that's meant for you. Trust me, they're out there. Story 32. I started playing Dungeons & Dragons with an online group that had her in it. I thought she was really cool, but she lived far away and was in a relationship at the time. Fast forward exactly 1 year to our Dungeon Master's wedding. We met in person for the first time. Her boyfriend was out of the picture. I thought she was amazing, and we hung out all night. She flew back to her home province the next morning. For reference, I live in Nova Scotia and she lives in Ontario, but I liked her so much that I asked her to go on some virtual dates, which she hesitantly agreed to. I worked really hard at our budding romance to not let the distance end our relationship before it began. That was just over a month ago, and now I'm lying on her bed in Ontario, writing this while she sleeps. I never want to leave. Story 33. I was single for the vast majority of my 20s. After some time, I decided that if I was going to be single forever, I'd better at least love myself. I hated my beer belly. I hated my job. I hated my tiny apartment. I just hated where I was in life. It didn't change overnight. I started working on finding out what type of person I was, what type of person I wanted to be, and I worked toward that. I started exercising and taking care of myself. I found a career path that I thought I would enjoy that offered good pay and job security. The job wasn't perfect, but I decided those two things, along with having something that involved me moving and a lot of variety, would work. After some time, I started to notice more of the opposite gender either checking me out or holding conversations with me longer instead of blowing me off. After a great deal of heartache, I found someone and got married. We're two imperfect beings, but we know that and just try to take care of each other while being a better version of ourselves tomorrow. Best of luck. Hopefully that helps someone. Story 34. In the fall of 2019, I was an undergraduate STEM major joining a research lab for an honors project. During my first lab meeting, I saw a really cute master's student in the corner of the room and instantly got a crush on her. Unfortunately, I was too busy at the time to make any advances. When summer came, I was working in the same lab with the promise of a grad school position there. With more time in my hands, I started inviting the girl to hang out more. We went for several walks and spoke about many different things. One night, I was coming out of the lab at 9 p.m. and walking back home, I decided to message her, saying that the sky was beautiful and asking if she wanted to go to a nearby park with me to check it out. She accepted. It was a cold night in October. The temperature was so close to 0 degrees Celsius. We shared a blanket on the park bench and I had my arm around her shoulders for most of the time. We talked about her past and our plans for the future. I was impressed by her dedication and ambition. Although the stars were truly beautiful that night, I had eyes only for her. I walked her back home at 11:30 p.m. with butterflies in my stomach. That was supposed to be our first kiss, but the stress took over me. I smiled and left her the polite goodnight. 2 blocks away from her house, I turned around and walked back to her place. I rang the intercom and asked her to come back down. I had something to tell her. My hands and voice were shaking as if I was inside a cold shower as I verbalized my obvious feelings for her. She reciprocated and I asked for a kiss, but she rejected it. She was scared of the dynamics of dating a coworker. We hugged and I left. Back at my apartment, she asked if I wanted to hop into a Zoom call. We talked for hours about the pros and cons of a relationship. I sold it as if my life depended on it. At 4 a.m., I asked if she wanted to go watch the sunrise. We walked to a good viewing location while holding hands. After the sun came up as my last selling technique, I kissed her. We've been dating for a year and 3 months now. I'm the happiest man alive. She's the stereotypical perfect girlfriend for nerds like myself. She's beautiful, she likes anime, she plays video games, she's ambitious, she takes care of her health, and she's amazing. If you're still looking for someone, don't worry. That person will show up. Stay strong, my friend. Story 35. I used dating apps for years, and all the girls I went on dates with seemed to be carbon copies of each other. I gave up on online dating and started thinking to myself, I don't need a woman to validate my existence. I kind of like being on my own. I went for some beers and smoked with some old friends and caught the night bus home. Spiked out of my mind. A pretty blonde got on, and I said to my buddy, oh, she's pretty fit. My friend said he knew her and, like a schmuck, then shouted, what was that? You think she's pretty fit? Thanks, mate. I got a smile from her as she got off the bus, and thankfully it wasn't the next stop. I bumped into her about a week later in a grocery store and got a subtle smile. I decided to slide into her Instagram direct messages and ask, it was you I saw today, wasn't it? Sorry, I was in such a rush I didn't have time to stop and say hi. We spoke for about a week, on and off, before I asked her out for a drink. We got to the bar and a great conversation just ensued from then on. I walked her home and remembered thinking to myself, this is the only woman I've seen in years who I wouldn't mind seeing again. We went on a second date, and the rest is history. So, to recap my main points, get to a point where you're happy enough in your own company. This is the big one. A simple smile can change your life, but don't make it weird. Always have a hilariously loving schmuck friend whose next move you can never predict. Have the audacity to make the first move, whether it be a hello or a direct message. Don't be afraid of a setback. Use it to assess and work on yourself. Some people just aren't compatible, and some are. I hope that helps. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.